Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
It's the end of the world as we know it. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Thank you for having. I heard you were having a problem getting big guests, and things were not going good. And I said, hey, I'll fly in and I'll help. I'm always here to help.
Well, we were talking about doing a live show at the mothership, but then somebody told a Puerto Rican joke. And we're like, maybe that's not a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, it was, it might have been. We don't know. It could have been interesting. Could have been.
It would have been fun, but
could have been fine.
Yeah, whatever. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's election. It's election day.
If Trump loses, he's on suicide watch.
If Trump loses, we're going to have to hide him. We're going to have to pay a cartel to shelter him for a period of months or years.
They'll take him in Canada. He could just move up to Canada.
Yeah.
Sort of change his rhetoric a little bit.
Yeah. No, if Trump loses, he definitely will have to
kind of tone it down.
He might have to
move it around a little bit.
Survey the scene,
Probably not a lot of Puerto Ricans in Canada.
He could be a hero on the other side, though.
That's true.
He could just emerge as
left wing. Just completely do like a 180. I've
total
seen the light.
Flip the script.
Inclusivity is super important.
Say, I did this.
Yeah.
Kamala, it was me.
I knew that was going to happen.
Right.
That's why I told those jokes.
Yeah. Well, the funniest thing is that people going, that he's a Hollywood plant.
Oh,
like those people, they're like, he was a Hollywood plant,
Yeah. Those people are fucking hilarious. Every now and then I'll come across a comment of people that think there's some fucking grand conspiracy, like we're all being puppet mastered by
manipulated.
It's always Jews. So they think the Jews are
the Jews. It always gets to the Jews. It'll start somewhere and then goes to the Jews.
I forget who told me this, but it's like one of the symptoms of a collapsing civilization. They start blaming things on Jews.
Yeah.
It's like one of them is they get very obsessed with gender, and then the other one is they start blaming Jews. We're
the other thing is
both of those right now.
They make celebrities out of chefs. Like they get very decadent. This happened in Rome, and there's
really,
like they like people that provide you these comforts become celebrities because you're just living
so much comfort,
living a decadent lifestyle.
And I never considered that.
That's one of the things that people say is like a harbinger of the apocalypse is like
celebrity chefs.
People just focusing way too much on artisanal, donuts or whatever.
My wife likes going to those places where they serve you like 13 different things. And each one is the size of a quarter.
Yeah.
I need a steak. Bring it all at once. I'm a glutton.
Yeah.
I need my food in a large plate.
Yeah.
I need just a giant fucking hunk of meat.
Well, it's also so much time. It's like 3 hours.
I can't do it.
And the waiters tell you about every single thing. And it feels very like indulgent to sit somewhere for 3 hours and then get educated about like where a raspberry came from.
Right.
I
can take it with the omakase sushi, like Philip Franklin Lee's place.
Sure.
That's kind of fun. It's that you watch him do it. You watch him like slice it up and put it together. It's kind of cool. It's fun.
Yeah.
Just know what you're in for when you get there. You have conversations. There's a small amount of people so you can get to know folks.
And a sushi bar is good because you don't have to talk that much.
Right.
When you're directly across somebody for 3 hours, that's intense.
And the worst is, like, someone could be in the middle of some fucking horrible story, and then my mother came back, and it was stage 4. And then, this is a peanut from Australia, and the glaze is a demi-glaze with a South France bourbon.
Yeah, and then you have to say, thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, you fuckhead.
Yeah.
Her mom died.
Yeah.
You piece of shit.
I hate people that ruin meals with real discussions about anything. That's depressing.
That is a problem.
Anybody who comes out, and if there's money being spent, keep it to yourself. Talk about things that we can all get on board. Nobody cares. My dad's going to beat it. He's a fighter. Hey. Not now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the emotion dump. That just like, what am I supposed to do with all this? Now I have all your emotions in a pile
it's too
on my
much.
lawn.
People talk too much about personal things, and then they expect you to offer them some degree of comfort.
Right. What can you do?
You can't do anything.
There's nothing you can do.
I'm sorry,
Keep
your
it to
sister
yourself.
has borderline personality disorder.
What is that exactly?
Is
that real?
No, and it's people that just go around ruining all the relationships in their life.
Oh,
so it just means you're a piece of
mental illness.
shit,
Right?
Which is fine. And then so they just say they're borderline.
Right, because there's a lot of like mental things like that are just sort of patterns that people fall into.
Yeah,
like
you
if
can't
you're rude,
medicate a pattern.
or can you medicate rudeness? Like some people are just rude. They're just not nice. They're not nice to waiters.
They'll invent a way. The pharmaceutical industry is such a profitable thing. Everything eventually will be a disease.
Yeah, I'm more and more convinced that ADHD is not real. I think a lot of kids just have a lot of fucking energy, and they're supposed to be doing other stuff. They're not supposed to be sitting at a desk all day.
Put them in the military.
Yeah.
Let them. You know what I mean?
Or let them play video games professionally. They seem to sit real fucking still when they're doing that. How come they're fully engaged when they play video games?
There are people you meet. I have grown friends in my life that are, I'm 39 and they're in their late 30s, and I'm like, the best version of you is dying in the Ukraine. You should be a flag on a mantle, and we should point to you and go, he made the ultimate sacrifice for freedom. And that's the best version of them. Yeah. And we don't have enough wars. We don't have enough dead people. So, when Kamala wins, we're going to change that.
We are. If we had more wars, one thing that people would appreciate is the whole concept of America. Like if we got attacked, after 9/11.
Yeah.
After 9/11, I don't know where you were, but I was in L.A. and the fucking, you're a lot younger than me, but the flags on people's cars were everywhere in Los Angeles, which is crazy. It's like everyone was super patriotic and
I was in
people
New York,
merge.
and it felt, people get mad when you say this. It was the best time ever to live in America.
Yeah.
After 9/11. It was the warmest time you felt. I never felt better about the country.
United. Yeah.
We felt united. We were compassionate. We truly loved each other.
I think that's how people in Israel feel every day.
Really?
Yep.
Isn't it so... They go through it so much that they're desensitized to it at this point?
I had a kickboxing coach, my friend Shuki, and he was from Israel, and he was always telling me. Like, I went over his house for dinner once, and him and his wife, they're playing the bongos and dancing and shit, and having a great time. I'm like, you guys like this? This episode of the Joe Rogan Experience is brought to you by Call of Duty. You know, when a new Call of Duty drops, everyone's trying to find a way to squeeze in those extra hours of gameplay. I get it. Life is busy. But sometimes you just need...
Hey, Joe, it's the replacer. Yeah, no, you. Hey, I'm going to take it from here so you can enjoy some Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Great. Now listen up, folks. Life can be chaotic, but you shouldn't have to miss out on the latest Call of Duty just because you've got, responsibilities. That's where I come in. I will handle the boring stuff like work, chores, even podcast ads. So you can dive right into the fight. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is out October 25th. So dive in because I've got your back. Remember, I replace, you play. It's that simple.
Man, the replacer always gets it done. Seriously, though, if you're hooked on Call of Duty, this is your time to jump in. Head over to callofduty.com/Black Ops 6 to get in the game. Call of Duty Black Ops 6, available now.
Rated M for mature.
Robinhood is introducing forecast contracts so you can trade the presidential election. Through Robinhood, you can now trade financial derivatives contracts on who will win the U.S. presidential election, Harris or Trump, and watch as contract prices react to real-time market sentiment. Each contract you own will pay $1 on January 8th, 2025 if that candidate is confirmed as the next U.S. president by Congress. Learn more about the presidential election contracts on Robinhood at robinhood.com/election. The risk of loss in trading commodities interest can be substantial. You should therefore carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you in light of your financial condition. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Commodity interest trading is not appropriate for everyone. Displayed prices are based on real-time market sentiment. This event contract is offered by Robinhood Derivatives, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Exchange and regulatory fees apply. Learn more at robinhood.com/election.
This episode is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. I might not have worked in traditional offices, but I've had many different jobs in my day. And while there are many different types of offices, one thing is for sure. Choosing the right candidate for any office is a huge responsibility. So if you're hiring and you want to find the best candidates, I think you need ZipRecruiter. Right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Rogan. ZipRecruiter will save you so much time and money because they have smart technology that'll show your job to qualified candidates immediately. And their matching technology works fast to find top talent. You can even invite top candidates to apply to encourage them to apply sooner. Remember, if you want to find the right candidates for your office, you need ZipRecruiter. See why 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Just go to this exclusive web address right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter.com/Rogan. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/Rogan. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And he goes, in Israel, you always worry you're going to die. So every day is party, party.
Right. They might have had a drug problem.
I don't think they weren't even drinking. They were just having a good time. They were happy people.
Well,
but he was like, you have an appreciation for life if you live in a war zone.
And I think in America, we are so removed from that it doesn't seem real to us.
Right, but you and I have an appreciation for life. We're not in a fucking war zone.
So
it's not the only way to have an appreciation for life.
Absolutely. I think you can have an appreciation for life in a myriad of ways, but I think one of the downsides of being so relatively safe is that when we talk about war, it's not real.
Right. Unless you've been there.
Unless you've been there. I have no idea. I have friends that have been there. And I think we talk about conflicts all over the world without the intimate knowledge of how hellish they are.
Right.
And how much pain is associated with someone going and fighting and dying.
Or killing people.
Or killing people and being scarred. And so one of the things that I think people are waking up to now is that it's we can't be everywhere in every war, fighting everybody, and then just not recognizing that has consequences.
You say that, but if Kamala Harris wins and Liz Cheney takes over the CIA, we might have a chance.
Well, here's the thing:
putting it all
what
together.
Time is it right now?
2:52.
2:52. They just called it for Kamala, and. And I'm excited about it because many of us will be in jail. If you don't get excited right now, many of us will go right to jail.
Right. So it's like when Dear Leader died and you had to cry for 6 months.
Yeah.
If you didn't cry, they put you in jail.
I don't think we should get nuts with the counting. If it feels good, let's just do it. If it to me, the numbers and the columns and the tabulation kind of is a waste of time.
I think we just go with whatever Joy Reid thinks.
Whatever they want. I mean,
did you see Rachel Maddow calling for Elon Musk contracts to be taken away?
I didn't, but that's kind of makes sense, I guess, if you're Rachel Maddow, right?
But it's the most bananas thing ever. You have literally one of the greatest geniuses in human history, a guy who's simultaneously landing rockets, not just shooting them, landing them, having them getting caught by robots in the sky.
Yeah.
Then you have Tesla. Then you have Starlink. Then you have the Boring Company. I mean, the guy's simultaneously running all these different fucking things.
But I bet Rachel Maddow's pretty bright.
But I have to send you this.
But they only care about their political opponents, I think. I think that's where we're at now, where it's like somebody might have a great talent, but if they disagree with you, you have to.
I sent it to you, Jamie. You got to see her say it because it's so unhinged. She's like, she used to be reasonable. At one point in time, she was reasonable. You know, Matt Taibbi wrote a book called Hate, Inc. I don't know if you ever read it. It's a great book. But he basically makes the argument that Rachel Maddow is essentially Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah.
That they're the same person.
They are. She was good friends with Roger Ailes. They had dinner all the time.
Uh-huh. Give me some volume and go full screen.
If Trump doesn't win, the Defense Department and NASA are going to need a new arrangement for all their rockets and for all the multi-billion-dollar contracts Elon Musk's companies have with the U.S. government. The U.S. government is going to have to either, unwind from all of those contracts, or Elon Musk's companies are going to have to unwind from him. This is an untenable reality in national security terms. Now that we know what we know about Elon Musk.
What is that? What do we know?
That he endorsed President Trump.
That he's a fucking genius?
They're very good at making enemies, and then when the enemies they've made treat them poorly, they are shocked. This is what they do. They kind of bully people, and they intimidate people, and they threaten people, and then when those people then, go back at them or try to assert themselves in any way, they're like stunned that that person has autonomy and is acting in their own interest. This is happening over and over again.
But this idea is crazy because it's literally one of the most unique talents. In terms of engineering, in terms of...
But she doesn't understand that. So that's the thing. She doesn't know that.
Right, but how
she thinks there's 20 people doing it.
That's what's crazy. But how... SpaceX has done things that have never happened before.
Sure.
These Falcon rockets landing... The catching the rockets with all the plans that they have for all these different things, the trips to Mars, no one's doing that. And this idea that you have a different political philosophy or ideology, or you support a different candidate, and the solution is get rid of the guy who's the most genius inventor, perhaps, of all time.
The article I was just reading said it has to do with his supposed conversations with Putin.
He had a conversation? Oh, no.
As of 2022.
So did Tucker Carlson. Take him off Twitter.
And here's the other thing. I think that, from what I understand, and I've read a little bit about this,
a paywall, but
oh, God,
Elon refused to provide Starlink to the Ukraine because they were going to use it to attack Russia, and there was going to be a dramatic escalation in the war.
Right.
And I think he was trying to avoid that.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to avoid a dramatic escalation in that war.
Well,
so the people that want a dramatic escalation in that war... The people that think that's a good idea, he's an enemy.
Yeah, fucking Christ. That's something I think people should be voting on. Imagine if you put it up to vote for people like, hey, do you guys think we should fund Ukraine to the tune of $190 billion? Yeah. And maybe have someone else come along and say, this is an alternative of what we could do with that money.
Right. There's no vote on that. There's no vote on a lot of the things that we're told to live with. There's never been a vote on immigration. There's votes for candidates that support it or don't support it, but there's never been a vote on should we secure the southern border would unanimously be voted on, and people would unanimously pretty much say absolutely.
Well, how about the voter ID laws?
Yeah.
84% of America think we should have voter ID.
Right.
I showed my ID today. Jamie, what's the total so far? What's the latest results?
We won't know for a few hours.
So here's what I will say.
We don't know anything?
The polls don't close.
Can we just be lied to?
Early voting.
Can you lie to us a little?
Early voting in Pennsylvania is down. You could check this out. Early voting in Pennsylvania is down for Democrats. 2020, you had 1.6 million registered Democrats vote early. Now you had 821,000. Whereas Republicans, early voters, I think last 2020 was like 547,000, 521,000 this time, meaning that the Republican early vote in PA, which is the most important state, and Michigan and Georgia, is around the same as it has been. The Democratic early vote is somewhat depressed. It is not as strong as it's been. Now, I don't know if that's a pattern. I don't know if that's that just listen.
How many people have kind of quiet quit the Democratic Party?
There's tons of people. There's a lot of hidden votes. So there's people that are sick of Trump that are going to vote for her. There's people that are sick of the Democratic Party that are going to vote for him. And then there's probably people that are motivated by Roe v. Wade. Women potentially might vote some.
I think that's the Republicans' biggest fuck up.
It's a huge fuck up. I think suburban women are certainly a big demographic that swings elections. And
how about urban women?
Urban
all
women?
women?
All
no,
women
women don't want men telling them what the fuck to do with their bodies.
That's right.
Especially when men can't get pregnant. It's too fucking convenient.
Well, wait a minute, psychopath. Hold on. What? Wait a minute. I walked into that.
Do you know that they found
abortion
out that boxer
affects men as much as it does women?
Of course. Right. Sure. You know they found out that boxer that won a gold medal in the Olympics is actually a man?
No. But
Yeah,
that's
the one that
shocking.
everyone was complaining was a biological male. Like, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
They have a medical condition. No. Has a micro penis.
Yeah.
Internal testicles.
Right.
Went through male puberty. Biological male.
Yeah.
XY chromosome. Whole deal. Won a gold medal in the Women's Olympics in boxing.
It's so crazy to me, and I think the biggest problem is the donor class, because the donor class of the Democratic Party and like Republican Party, you either have people that are business owners that are donating because of business interests, or you have radicals that are donating because they are a radical activist that wants something that the American public thinks is crazy.
Right.
And biological men competing in women's sports is something most people think is crazy. And 13-year-olds getting puberty-blocking hormones, 11-year-old, all that stuff. Most people think it's crazy, but they have to just kowtow to this donor base that is maniacal.
Maniacal
and insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about money, right?
It's all about money. And it's the money guys are at least the billionaires will go, I want to build a casino, or I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to pollute a lake. This isn't good, but you know where they're coming from. When you're these radical activists, they're kind of motivated by this ideology that it's a very small group of people. Yeah. Like, if you went to most people and said, do you think an 11-year-old should have a gender reassignment surgery or should take hormones to block their puberty, the vast majority of people would say no. No, they shouldn't. That's a crazy idea.
But the thing is, most people will say something different than they actually feel privately because they don't want to be attacked.
Right.
That's a weird one, because the people that will attack you are almost always the people that are pro that shit happening.
Right.
And those are the nuttiest, fucking craziest
Those are the people that will misrepresent you. And right. I have a friend who's, they have very young children. They live in Long Island. And they, there's there's a book being read about gender identity to like 5 and 6 year olds.
Crazy.
And I'm texting with them and they're going, we're very like liberal people, but we're really confused as to why this is happening. And
they let activists get into schools.
That's right.
That's what it is. A lot of these teachers are just activists, and a lot of them don't have fucking kids, and a lot of them are gay, or queer, or trans, or this or that, or they're a part of the posse. A lot of them are
women too. Here's the other thing: a lot of them are women. Not to blame women, but it's like most of this stuff isn't being pushed. It's not like it's being pushed because a lot of people go, "Oh, they're groomers or pedophiles." Some of them might be, but a lot of them are just these do-gooder types that want to have medals pinned on them and ribbons pinned on them as to how great they are as people.
Right.
So they're going. So it's not all these female teachers. They're not all trying to have sex with your kids. They're just trying to get accolades from their peers, and they want to talk about what a great person they are. So they're just like falling for anything, and they're out there distributing, whatever it is, books or, telling kids because they want to be a good person. They want to feel like they're a good person.
They want to be on the right side.
They want to be on the right side of things.
That's a good point.
And they're just not, I don't think nobody's pushing back in a way. Like, there's a lot of elitism and condescension that comes from the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party used to be a party of unions, of workers rights, and it was a party that people like my grandmother was in for years because she believed that people should be able to have health care, they should be able to have sick leave, or they should be able to have maternity care, whatever it is. But then it became a party dominated by kind of corporate elites, very wealthy donors, at Wall Street people, finance people, and also very radical fringe elements that are advocating policies that most Americans don't agree with. And then you cobble together that coalition of interest groups. And the only way that works is if you condescend to, because you can't have these debates because they lose them. They lose the debates.
Right.
So you can't have them. So the way to shut down a debate is to tell people, if you don't agree with me, you're racist, you're homophobic, transphobic, you're an idiot, you're stupid, you're not worthy of having this discussion, because they don't want to have the discussion. Because if they wanted to have a debate about health care, that's a debate.
Right.
People understand that. If they wanted to have a debate about early childhood education, people understand that. But the things they're choosing to focus on, like having a wide open southern border, for example, benefits nobody.
Right.
Truly. Unless you are a billionaire, multimillionaire who wants to hire people and pay them less money. It doesn't really even benefit the people that are coming into the country because they're working for wages that are far less. And it certainly doesn't benefit Americans. But like they don't want to have that argument.
Well, it benefits the people that are coming into the country because they're coming from a place where they have fucking zero.
Yeah.
So if they work for very little, they're happy. They got 10 people in a house.
Sure.
They're not getting
But
shot at every day.
They're also much more likely to be taken advantage of than somebody who's a citizen.
Right.
So they're not going to unionize, or they're not going to, be able to assert themselves at all.
Right. That's the argument for offering these people amnesty. But the thing is, like, you've got to vet them. You got to figure out who's a fucking criminal. Like, I'm all for letting poor people in that want a better life. But I'm not for illegal workers.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, I think those people should be paid what Americans are paid.
Yeah.
I think there should be a standard on this soil. If you live in this fucking country, you should have a working wage. If you're going to work 40 hours a fucking week, you should be able to live on it. You should have health care. You should have all the things that people deserve. Yeah. And I think if you think about the amount of fucking money we spend doing other stuff, we could do that for everybody.
Yeah.
That could be done.
Yeah.
And it would fix a lot of the fucking problems we have with money in this country in the first place. Like the amount of influence that pharmaceutical drug companies have on us is bizarre and doesn't exist anywhere else but here.
I spoke to a woman who is from Chicago, and she worked for very wealthy Democrat donors in Chicago when Sanders was winning, when he had won that primary.
Right.
And they were very threatened by Sanders. So she was working with all of them, and they all went to D.C., and they all, met candidates. At one time they were backing Buttigieg, and then they met Biden, and they decided even then he was like, he's not with it. This was even then.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was a decision made that the best candidate to play ball, to unite the party, and to get rid of Bernie Sanders was Joe Biden. So all of the Democratic power brokers, all these big wealthy families, decided to line up and destroy Sanders and elevate Biden. And that's when she said she left politics, because she said she was so disillusioned, because she thought her job was to help wealthy people make political decisions that helped people get health care or whatever.
Right.
But then when she realized that the job is actually to get rid of people who want to change the status quo, she became disillusioned. She left politics. But that was her job. And, so when somebody talks like that in the Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders was doing it, they get rid of him.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You thought he was interesting. You endorsed him. You said
yes,
he would be a very interesting candidate.
Well, I liked his idea of making things easier for poor people.
That's right.
I think giving people a path to get out of abject poverty is a good idea. And his idea of taking and funding all these social programs based on a small percentage, like a fraction of a penny of all these speculative gambles that the stock market's doing, maybe that would work.
But it was and then he came off your podcast, and they go, he went on a transphobic podcast. The attacks started immediately.
Oh, yeah. No, it was CNN was the first. Yeah, they called the podcast racist and homophobic and all kinds of different things. And I found out about it because I got a text message from a buddy saying, "You okay?" I'm like, "About what?"
Right.
And they're like, CNN wrote a hit piece on you today. I go, for what? They go, for Bernie Sanders. Like, what?
So this is you come out, you endorse a left-wing candidate.
By the way, I didn't even endorse him.
You didn't endorse him.
Probably.
You said you liked him.
I said I'll probably vote for Bernie.
He's anti-corporate. He's from outside of the system. And then immediately you're attacked. They attack the podcast. So it's like, and then Kamala Harris, God bless, but this woman is running on a platform of joy.
Joy is important.
Joy is the policy. The policy is joy.
I want to take what she's taking when you're laughing all the time. That sounds like fun.
The platform is joy. And there's people right now that can't feed their kids, that are immiserated for whatever reason. They're not doing well, and they don't have health care. And she goes, "Be joyful, and our joy is our work." It's crazy. It's fully insane. And I don't understand who that connects with.
Well, it's completely manufactured, right?
Yeah.
The whole thing is manufactured by the media and by whoever is running the country. Whoever's running the country, by the way, you're doing a great job considering there's no president.
Right.
We've had no president for months.
That's right.
Okay.
Well,
Kamala Harris,
maybe years.
sure. But Kamala Harris has been campaigning. She has no time to be president.
That's right.
Joe Biden is gone.
Right.
Every now and then, somehow or another, they let him wander over to a microphone.
Yes.
And he says wild shit like, I like to take these Republicans and smack them in the ass.
Yeah, and then he puts a MAGA hat on. He's getting fun. By the way, I voted for him today. I still support him, and because he's fun now. He clearly wants Trump to win. He hates her.
Yeah.
And he never liked the Obamas. This is well known.
Well, Jack how do you say his name?
Posobiec.
Posobiec.
I believe.
Jack Posobiec posted on Twitter that there was a physical altercation between Jill Biden and someone from Kamala's staff. I don't know if it's true, but it's fun.
Well, listen, Jill Biden, we know, is a psychopath. And we know that because
she's very supportive.
She's encouraged her husband, who should be on a porch, to run for president. It's disgusting. Jill Biden is one of the most. Yeah.
I think sometimes he's not, I think he doesn't do good in the bright lights.
She's
behind closed doors, he's sharp as a tack.
She's a woman who claims to be a doctor. She's not a doctor. Well, you know that.
Why?
You know,
is
Jill
she a
Biden.
chiropractor?
No. You know, Jill Biden just has a doctorate. She's not a doctor of anything.
That's interesting.
And she makes people call her Dr. Jill Biden, so already she's mentally
like
unwell.
Bill Cosby had
She's not even like a
honorary
professor.
one.
Like if you're a professor
Right.
and you have a doctorate, somebody might say Dr. Rogan or whatever.
Right.
But this idea that she's the first lady, not a medical doctor, not a professor,
Right.
and still making people call her doctor while she's doing the least doctorly thing ever, which is letting an elderly man be paraded around to try to win the presidency again is crazy.
Well, I think she was enjoying the power.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that ring is very hard. My precious.
They don't want to. They don't want to let it go.
Oh, my precious.
Well, she's enjoying the power. She's enjoying not going. Maybe members of her family not being in jail.
That would help.
That she's enjoying that.
Do you think he pardons his son? Because his son just got hit with a bunch of tax evasion charges.
I mean, I don't know. I hope Trump pardons him and invites him into the administration. That's the ultimate win. Hunter goes and works
I
for
had
Trump.
A chance to have him on the podcast.
No, Joe, and you didn't?
I fucked up.
Oh, my
It was
God.
early on when he was writing a book. Remember when he wrote a book?
I remember that.
Yeah, they reached out to get press, and then the laptop story kind of blew up.
Oh,
and,
yeah, well then-
and then I was like, get him on, and then they were like, no.
No, you don't want a pre-laptop. You want a post-laptop.
This was post-laptop, but they thought they had squashed it. So this was before Elon had purchased Twitter.
Gotcha.
Once Elon purchased Twitter, and then they understood that there was a coordinated effort by 51 former intelligence agents to say that the laptop was Russian disinformation.
That's right.
And then the fucking cat's out of the bag, and then everybody knows what's going on. But
Well, this is also the problem with saying that Donald Trump is a unique threat to democracy when you have literally like credible, documented examples of intelligence officials lying to the public and facing zero consequences and trying to manipulate an election.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge problem.
Well, Google's doing that right now. You know, have you ever seen the Robert Epstein's work? Robert Epstein has compiled all.
I'm familiar with
of
a different Epstein's work.
Yeah, different one. Ephemeral interactions with Google, like Google search engine results, and what you're shown on your homepage of Google News, and how it influences people,
right?
And how you can sway undecideds like in a significant way,
right,
towards one candidate or the other, depending upon the search results. But one thing that people are pointing out on Twitter today, Jamie, let's see if we could replicate it. Why don't you Google where can I vote for Trump? Now, if you Google where can I vote for Trump, let's see what it says. Because people, I'll show you what I saw people posting. It's mostly Harris stuff. Where can I vote for Trump? Okay.
Robinhood is introducing forecast contracts so you can trade the presidential election. Through Robinhood, you can now trade financial derivatives contracts on who will win the U.S. presidential election, Harris or Trump, and watch as contract prices react to real-time market sentiment. Each contract you own will pay $1 on January 8th, 2025 if that candidate is confirmed as the next U.S. president by Congress. Learn more about the presidential election contracts on Robinhood at Robinhood.com/election. The risk of loss in trading commodities interest can be substantial. You should therefore carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you in light of your financial condition. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Commodity interest trading is not appropriate for everyone. Displayed prices are based on real-time market sentiment. This event contract is offered by Robinhood Derivatives, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Exchange and regulatory fees apply. Learn more at robinhood.com/election.
This episode is brought to you by Dr. Squatch Body Wash. Now, if you know me, you know I'm all about natural stuff, especially when it comes to what I put on my body. So let's talk about Dr. Squatch. This brand's been killing it with their cold-pressed real soaps for a while now, but here's the game changer. They've just launched a new body wash that's actually real natural soap. It's made with natural ingredients, none of that synthetic stuff like parabens or sulfates. This is pure stuff, just like how coconut oil and plants can keep your skin hydrated all day. Speaking of coconut, the scents are great too. They've got coconut castaway, pine tar, wood barrel bourbon, and fresh falls. I've tried coconut castaway, and let me tell you, it smells amazing. You're not getting this kind of earthy, masculine scent anywhere else. And by the way, it's dermatologist tested for 24-hour moisture, so you're not just smelling great, you're taking care of your skin too. Dr. Squatch Body Wash for men who prefer natural. Available at drsquatch.com or at a fine retailer near you.
So here it is.
Look
Where
at that.
can I vote for
So,
Harris?
by the way,
Right
the
away.
first article is Esquire. There's only one reason anyone votes for Trump. It's just hilarious. It's like that's the.
So you don't see this. Google it. Hold on. Slow down. Google admits Trump-Harris search for discrepancy says fix is coming. I don't know what the fuck that means. But look at the bottom. So you Googled where to vote for Trump. Scroll down a little bit. Scroll down a little bit more. Where can I Google search? Where can I vote for Harris? Shows
Right.
a new conspiracy theory is taking root in election day. Click on that, the variety thing. So this is it. Where can I vote for Harris showed a map while similar Trump search didn't. So you Googled where can I vote for Trump. It didn't show the map. Now let's Google where can I vote for Harris. Let's see what happens. Vote centers.
You just voted for her.
Vote centers. Yeah.
By the way, that's counted as a vote. That's counted as one vote.
Scroll that. Go back to the top, please, to see what Google. Okay, same thing in the New York Post. Says fix is coming. Voting for Kamala Harris. Donald Trump will harm people. So it's negative things about Trump, where you get negative things about Trump if you Google where can I vote for Trump. You get negative things about Trump if you Google where can I vote for Harris. And then right away it says vote centers. First search result is vote centers after you get past the news. Fascinating. So it's true. So look, see where you don't see vote centers. You see all these stories. You don't see vote centers right away. When you Google where can I vote for Harris, you see vote centers right away. So it's not a conspiracy theory if you could just reproduce it, fuckers.
Yeah.
Right
no,
away.
there's
I'm gonna get another cigar. This cigar's dry. Hold
There's
on a second.
clearly a slant.
Oh yeah.
With what the media. And that's the other thing with
a map popped up.
I think Trump's the advantage he's also running against the media, and the media is terrible.
Yeah.
And I think one of his big advantages has been, he's been able to kind of call them out successfully multiple times.
Yeah.
And so it's not just he's running against Kamala Harris, he's running against a hostile media that does a terrible job at reporting facts when it comes to him.
Well,
now, Donald Trump says wild shit, and a lot of it stands on its own as wild and crazy.
Yeah.
But when they manipulate it, Piers Morgan the other night, when he goes, there'd be a bloodbath in the auto industry if I'm not elected.
Right.
And then they just say, there's Trump, if he's not elected, there's going to be a bloodbath.
One of the reasons why I was willing to endorse him was watching Obama repeat the lie that he said that white supremacists, that there's very fine people on both sides.
Right. Yeah.
That's a terrible lie. He literally says, I'm not talking about white supremacists and the KKK. Those people should be condemned.
That's right.
That's what he says.
Yeah. Well, and that's the
what
whole
he's talking
thing.
about was the people that were coming to protest the fact that a statue was being taken
What's
down.
interesting about Trump
Wasn't
is
that what it was, a
he was the
statue?
first guy. Yes, he was the first guy in Palm Beach. Whatever you think of Trump, there's reasons to not like him. There's very legitimate reasons not to like him. But he was the first guy in Palm Beach that opened Mar-a-Lago to Jewish people, to gay people, to people of color. Like, people were allowed. There was all these country clubs in Palm Beach that prevented those people. And now obviously people go, well, he just did that for money. And it's like, sure, fine, whatever. But like, he was the guy who did it.
Right. It's not like he was short of members.
Yeah.
You say he did it for money. Like,
yeah. He opened the door. And, so to me, it's like one of his biggest advantages has always been that the press cannot help themselves when it comes to him. They are rage addicts, and they like hating him, and he feeds them, and they get more popular, and they get bigger when he is around.
Well, when he lost the election, CNN dropped 40%.
That's right. So
like right away.
They're addicted to being in a, hostile, contentious relationship with him, and they misrepresent a lot of what he says.
Just flat out lies.
And that's a huge problem. And they can't help themselves. If they got out of the way, it would hurt him because, like any politician, then you're just going to be dealing with other politicians or your supporters or your detractors or whoever. But you have this media that's lying about you, and you can constantly call it out. It helps him.
I think the cat's out of the bag, though, with the media.
It's over.
It's over.
It's big time.
I mean, the video that I did with Trump is well over 100 million views.
Yeah.
Between Twitter and YouTube and Spotify, well over 100 million. The one I did with Elon just yesterday was this morning. It had 65 million views just on Twitter.
I don't want to upstage you. The video that I did with J.D. Vance got 3 billion views.
Billion?
It got 3 billion views.
Nice.
So I don't want to upset you. But no, I mean, do you think it's going, because me and you talked about this. I think it will be decided tonight, but you think maybe not.
No.
Okay.
Not if it's close.
Interesting.
I think that's when shenanigans take place.
Shenanigans.
If shenanigans are real, okay, if there's manipulation. Manipulation will take place at 4:00 in the morning.
Interesting.
Don't you think?
Well,
don't you think that's when ballots show up? I mean, if you're going to cheat,
here's the deal.
Both sides,
My grandmother died in 2017. She was a big Democrat.
Has she been voting lately?
And she voted 6 times for Kamala Harris. And if you think that's wrong, that's disgusting. I don't know what to tell you.
That's who she would have voted for.
She probably would have. Yeah,
so
no,
in
of
her
course.
honor.
Yeah.
In her honor.
I don't know how much fuckery is going on down at the ballot box. Probably some.
For sure.
So my friend, who's actually outside, but I'm not going to say his name.
Say it.
I don't want to hurt him. Andrew Vickers is a Boston comedian. Someone sent him a thing where there were like duplicate ballots in Georgia in 2020. Like weird stuff.
Oh, there's weird stuff.
Like really weird. Now, I was a guy who was like, I bought the idea that I was like, Trump lost and people wanted Biden and whatever. And maybe that is I don't know. But like, there seems to be more evidence of fuckery than I was willing to. But that doesn't mean there's probably fuckery in every election.
There's not zero.
There's not zero.
Right.
So, but in every election, there's something.
When I asked Trump, like, how do you say you lost the 2020 election? Can you prove it? Like, tell me. I gave him all the room. I would have given him an hour.
Yeah.
Like, tell me.
Yeah.
And he's like, there's plenty of information. They wrote a book. It's coming out. I'm like,
okay.
Put it out in a digestible form. You've had 4 years. Maybe it's out and I don't know. I haven't seen it. No one sent it my way.
I'm willing to believe, and not willing to believe, we know that the tech companies and the intel agencies all coordinated to suppress certain stories, and like they all admitted that.
No question.
You know, I haven't seen the direct evidence of...
That's election interference.
That is hugely election interference.
Well, they said that would have affected millions of people's decisions.
Yeah, well, then that's a huge problem.
That's a giant problem. You have 300 million people. The elections in the counties where Biden won was by, like, how many votes total in
I think it was
swing
like
states?
83,000 in PA. It was very...
Crazy. That's crazy.
It was crazy.
And if you imagine if 83 of those 1,000 people, if just half of them got a hold of that laptop story...
Yeah, and listen, I think a huge problem is that the intelligence agencies are completely unaccountable.
Yeah.
Meaning that there's been no accountability at all for anyone who suppressed the laptop story. I mean, where is this Kim Cheadle woman who, the head of the Secret Service, the craziest thing in the world,
The sloped roof lady?
The sloped roof. I've taken gravity bong hits on acid on roofs that have more of a pitch than that. And I didn't fall off. I'm not exactly a Navy SEAL, and I was able to do it.
They had snipers on a similar roof that had more of a pitch to it.
The whole thing is as shady as humanly possible. He was cremated. The house was...
In 11 days, the house was professionally scrubbed.
And then nobody talks about it.
Well, did you see the cell phone data that shows that someone...
Was meeting up with him at FBI or close to it?
Close to the FBI offices, was meeting up with them on a regular basis?
Where is this woman?
He's in a BlackRock commercial.
The whole thing is weird, and then
it's beyond
strange.
It's Lee Harvey Oswald 2024.
It's fucking crazy, and he has no digital footprint.
Crazy.
There's not one. There's very few people that age that have no digital footprint.
Right.
And then if you talk about any of this or you say anything, people write it off as sort of a QAnon, whatever. But it isn't. It's valid, legit, and people. Normies, people that don't think like this, are even going, that was fucking weird.
It's just weird that they never had a press conference. They never had a toxicology exam that was released.
Yeah.
It was not like someone wants to shoot the president. Wouldn't you assume that person's out of their fucking mind? Maybe they're on meth. Maybe we can find some sort of a reason while we feel a little bit better.
And then the next guy was a guy who, like the Three Stooges, a barrel of a gun is going through the bushes on a golf course.
Yeah.
Like something out of the Marx Brothers. And that guy was a guy that like CNN or MSI, I forget which one, had been speaking to about like the Ukraine. He wrote like a song about the Ukraine and how important it was to support the Ukraine. And he was being like interviewed by the news, like a cable news, and they had a relationship with him. And imagine if Fox News had a relationship with somebody who tried to assassinate Obama, Biden, Harris.
Right.
You would have never heard the end of it.
Right. Exactly.
Most people hearing this, maybe you're hearing this for the first time, but like this was like a source or this guy that they kind of profiled. And, you know, it came out that he was, and then his kid got busted for child porn.
Wild.
Just like Stephen Paddock's brother.
Yes, that's what's wild.
I'm just saying.
Hey, how much do you know about the Vegas thing? Is it true
Not
that
enough, but
there's 3
that's never
women that were
me
checked
before.
into the room with him? I was reading this thing the other day about how there's 3 unaccounted for women that apparently checked into the room with him.
Interesting. I don't know that, but
what's that, Jamie?
I've never heard that.
You never heard that?
I've researched a lot. I mean, there's cell phones, I think, that were found that were unaccounted for. He had a girlfriend that wasn't there that I think he sent to the Philippines or something like that. But
that's right.
Mary Lou Danley was a girlfriend who
heard about
went to the
anyone there.
Philippines. Jamie's controlled opposition.
He is.
Point, you know, you can't really.
He's a
depend.
Reddit mod.
I mean, he's a guy. He doesn't. Who knows where he's? He's getting texts from Netanyahu. This guy.
Kamala Harris is on speed dial.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting day because everybody has a weird tension.
Yeah.
Not here. People are friendly here. But I was just in a car accident. Everyone was friendly. And the cops were, everyone was kind of friendly. But
Did anybody recognize you?
No.
Did you wear the glasses?
Yeah, it was a nice Mexican guy, and it was good. Like nobody.
My friend, you from
the
Tim Dillon Show?
Yeah, no, it was all very nice, and it was nice. And that's the thing about car accidents; they can be nice. And it wasn't my car; it was it was kind of a rental, and it was just kind of nice to meet people and be out. But you know, it is a weird. There is an interesting. I think people just want this to be over.
100%.
They need to move on.
Yeah, it would be nice, no matter who wins, if we could all
just take a breath.
Let's imagine she wins, and one of the things that she has been very good about during the whole campaign is changing her opinions based on what people think. Well,
absolutely.
If we can influence the president based on popular opinion, isn't that a good thing?
Joe, I'm great at lying. Get ready. I hate ice cream. Like, what she's been able to do, which I respect, is look at the American people and lie to them. And that's good.
Or at least adjust her opinion.
She's adjusting.
Let's, be, you know.
I agree. Listen, I'm for...
charitable as possible.
I'm charitable with her. I'm very charitable. I don't think she's, like, the worst. I like her. I think she's fun. I think she'd be fun to sit and have a drink with.
I was really hoping I was going to get to talk to her.
I was wishing that you would, too.
God. I mean, it's just the options were fly to her and meet for 45 minutes. And I was like...
That's not what you do.
It's, you know, Elon said it best yesterday. He goes, you really find out about people in hour 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can bullshit people for 45 minutes,
Right.
but hour, 2 or 3, something's going to come up.
Well, the great thing about your show is that it's not scripted talking points where people don't come on with an agenda and go, here, I want to say this, that, and the other thing. You sit there for hours, you talk to them, you have a real conversation, and what they really think will come out.
But here's the thing. I'm going to be nice to you. I'm going to be nice to Kamala Harris. I would be so friendly to her. I wouldn't try any gotcha bullshit. I'm not interested in doing that. I genuinely wanted to know like who
You'd
she is.
shoot guns with her?
As
She has a
person.
Glock.
Sure, let's go shoot. I'll take her to the
If she
range.
was on this show getting high,
oh my God,
smoking weed and then waving a gun around,
well, she didn't have to wave the
then
gun.
I vote.
That's that's bad gun handling.
Of
You shouldn't
course,
really-
but I
gun
understand.
safety is important. Don't point guns.
Sure, but it's
even when
fun.
they're unloaded, Tim Dillon.
Yeah, but it's fun.
It would be fun, but here's the thing: if she did come on and just had a little cocktail,
Yes.
her and I have a couple of whiskeys,
Yeah.
talk a little shit. I bet she's fun. She's not much older than me.
Yeah, no, she's probably fun. She probably is surprised.
Pretty hot when she was younger.
Yeah, I'm sure she's an attractive lady. She's probably surprised that she's running for president because they told her. She probably wanted to. There's reports that she was like, "You're not going to pass me over," because they wanted to.
Is that what she said?
Yeah, they didn't want her, and
Did she really have that kind of say though?
yes, because
How?
she would have thrown a fit and said they overlooked a woman of color.
Or had a press conference and
Yes.
exposed a lot of shit
She
about how
could
the
have-
machine works.
Whatever she could have done, they didn't want to deal with that. And she's been a careerist her whole life, and she wanted the job. And
What I heard was that
No.
Joe Biden kind of forced her in.
no way.
What I heard was that they were going to have a primary, but that Joe Biden said that he endorsed her. He endorsed her, and then it was this weird situation where they got to kind of like run her.
Interesting.
By the way, I'm hearing this from fucking
We're all
random
hearing
people
it from
in
random
alleyways.
people. We're all hearing it. I think she's a very motivated, strategic person.
Is there any evidence of that, Jamie? Find out
Yeah.
if Joe Biden endorsed her and whether or not they
I
were going
think
to.
he was made to endorse her. He doesn't.
I'll check that, but there was 3 women supposedly with Stephen
Oh.
Paddock.
Oh,
Also,
good.
I just checked this in. But,
Oh, there was.
Yeah, sorry.
Stephen Paddock's hotel records show. Oh, you controlled opposition.
There
Gets
we
fucking
are.
fact checked by
He's
community
also
notes.
6 years old. But
Well, still, the whole story's 6 years old. Stephen Paddock's hotel records show 3 women registered in his room. Interesting.
receipt
But they
or
could have
something
been
like that.
hoes.
Yeah, it could've been
probably
anything.
could
Like,
have
this
been.
guy was a
But
crazy riverboat gambler.
Do you register a hooker to the room?
Fuck yeah. If you're
Really?
wild, man. If you're
Yeah,
wild, man.
you give them a card.
Especially if you don't want those ladies stealing your Rolex.
That's a good point. You got to
You know,
trust them.
ask
Show
on
them
Skim.
trust.
Ask
yeah.
on Skim.
That's
Shit gets
right.
wild.
Oh, really? Somebody took his Rolex?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you got
He
to
had
be
a
careful.
lady and she drugged him.
He was probably showing her the Rolex.
He probably was that dumbass.
Yeah, if
Look,
you show her
this
the
is my
Rolex, it's probably not
and
good.
this is my dick.
Right.
Hans is probably not so slick.
It's a
But if you wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that they weren't stealing from you, you have to have ID to get into my
you have to have
room,
ID
so-
to get into the room.
That would be
yeah.
because this guy's a riverboat gambler. This guy's
Yeah.
a wild dude, right? He was a professional
Yeah,
gambler.
sure.
Professional gamblers. I think hookers and professional gamblers,
Yeah.
they just fucking.
And also, he had
They
no
go
track
together.
record. That's the other thing that Paddock was interesting. He just kind of he's emerged.
Right.
That's interesting about these people.
he might have been a gambler, but they gave him credit for being like a video poker. That's where he made all
That's
of his
where he
money.
made all
And
his
it's like
money.
if you ask people that are really into gambling, like no one makes a lot of money video poker gambling.
Really?
Well,
not.
there's
You
all kinds of
could- you
reports
could,
about
but that's
that
not
it was
like-
some weird Saudi coup, that they locked down the country in the days after. I don't really know enough about it, but it was a very strange thing that
It just doesn't make any sense.
has never been fully. I mean,
Why is he just shooting
yeah.
at a concert? Like what?
Supposedly he lost his mind and then he just wanted to kill everybody, and
Here's the thing, though. That's real too.
that's real too.
That's real too. And if you really wanted to make a splash, and you knew you're going to kill yourself, and you were some fucking psycho, and you just wanted to gun down a bunch of people,
Yeah.
and then bang.
Oh,
Let's
I
see
mean,
what's next.
It's one of those things where it disappears, and then the thing about all of this is the news moves so quickly and so much is going on. You can't. It gets hazy. The
Right.
recollection of it, like the Trump shooting, even the recollection will get hazy. In a few months from now, forget a few years, even in a few months, the idea of it being a slope roof, people don't remember.
Right.
People just remember a guy climbed on a roof. They don't remember it was 120 yards away. The Secret Service didn't clear the roof. He was walking around. People were telling them there's a guy walking around. He's creepy. He flew a drone over the area.
He had a rangefinder.
Yeah. All of those details that are very important.
But the rangefinder's nuts. Like
It's
anybody
crazy.
with a rangefinder should be arrested.
Right.
If you have a rangefinder and
Yeah.
you're walking around an area where the president or a president candidate is going to be,
You should be
arrested.
detained, yeah.
Someone should find out what you're doing, what you're up to.
And
You
didn't
a
he
ra-
have explosives in the car?
Yeah, he had explosives, and they're sophisticated with radio-controlled devices. He had remote-controlled explosives. Like, how is he getting that? He's 20 years old.
Yeah.
Like, what Google search do you have? Like,
Yeah.
where are you ordering these things? Are you putting them together?
Yeah.
Did someone manufacture it for you? Who'd you buy it from? Where's the investigation?
Nothing. There's one thing where his father is leaving a Costco. There's one video, Jamie, maybe you could pull it up, where there's one reporter and his dad and someone in a mask are leaving a Costco or BJ's or something like that. And he's like, no comment. And he just gets into his car. That's kind of the only time I've ever seen the parent. This is the only... I think they released a statement like, we're terribly, blah, blah, blah.
It's also interesting. It's like some people... Here it is. This is the dad.
Well, this is...
Trump shooter's dad blows off questions. I
Well,
got to pee, he said.
But
Well,
there's
reasonable.
another one where he's leaving a Costco.
Let me hear him talking.
I was trying to find out if that was the correct video even.
Yeah, that's him talking. Let's hear what he says.
Is there any statement you'd be willing to share with us right now, Mr. Crooks?
I got to pee, he said.
Forrest Gump quote.
Interesting.
Yeah. I
There
mean,
doesn't
that
seem
guy's
to
a
be
little casual for the fact that his son just tried to kill the fucking president.
He was at Costco.
Well,
The
look how
week after
calm he
the
looks.
he looked very calm leaving Costco, and he has a full cart of food leaving. It's insane.
Well, not only that, imagine your son is. Forget about the fact that he tried to kill Trump. He did kill someone, and he shot
killed a
two
guy.
other people. He
Yeah.
killed a guy who was trying to shield his wife
Look
and children.
at it. Can you
Yeah.
stop this for a minute? Who is getting that much food 2 weeks after your son tried to kill the president?
Well, look at the size of that fella.
He
He probably
has
eats a lot of food.
I get it, but he has a full cart. And by the way, he can't get anyone to go to Costco for him. He's walking around buying mini taquitos.
Well, he probably doesn't have any money. I mean, he's not a wealthy guy, right? Well,
I mean, you
actually,
got to have a friend that'll go to
actually-
Costco for you.
That's a pretty nice car. What is that? It's a BMW.
You got to have a friend that'll go to Costco. This guy's got a full cart.
What is that car? That looks like a pretty nice car.
This is just a weird, to me, it's an interesting, right after your son does this, you're at Costco buying the store.
With the Unabomber.
Yeah, with someone, with some fed in a mask.
With sunglasses on.
The CIA goes, we'll take you to Costco. Keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, look at this guy with the
What
glasses.
is- who's this?
The hat, the hood.
Who's
he's got,
this?
He's got gloves on, dude. He's got gloves on so he doesn't leave fingerprints.
It's crazy.
The guy has gloves
It's
on.
insane.
What does he have gloves on for?
We don't
It's
know.
not cold out. Don't show me this guy dying.
Jamie, can you
Jamie,
please?
stop with your algorithm. you
Jamie,
son of a
enough. Jamie was raised on Live Leak.
bitch. He was.
He
That's
was.
Remember that?
Yes, he was raised on beheading videos on Live
That was
Leak.
back before Instagram.
Yeah,
Nowadays,
the good old days.
I've seen more people murdered over the last 3 years on Instagram than I have my entire life of people psychos sending me things in
It's
email.
crazy. Did you see that video where the kid jumps off the cruise ship and the shark gets him? It's tough out there. But you can't do dumb shit. Sometimes you
Yeah.
do.
Don't do
The
dumb shit.
summer between high school and college, we all know one person who did a really dumb thing, and that was it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're that guy. Nobody wants to be that guy, but sometimes you're that cautionary tale. You know, and that kid will be immortalized every time someone will go out to dinner or something. They'll go, when I was 18, we took a cruise for our high school graduation, and a kid jumped off the boat, and a tiger shark got him. That was it.
Jesus Christ, what a way to go.
And people will talk about that and tell their kids that, and it's a terrible thing.
Imagine the moment you hit the water, you fucking feel those teeth on your rib cage.
Well, I think he's treading for a minute, and then you just see him kind of go under, and they don't know what it is, but it's probably a shark. And he voted for Kamala. So if you're telling me he's not even racist, Well, Oprah, last night I'm watching a rally, and I'm watching Oprah's out there, and she goes, if you don't cast a ballot for Kamala, you may never be able to cast a ballot again, which seems extreme.
That's so crazy.
Can you get up to rally? I want you to watch this. Will.i.am is on the rally, and he's doing this crazy Kamala rap, and then there are these two white kids, like college kids, like awkwardly dancing to this music, and then there's Doug Emhoff, and then Tim Walz, and I'm like, these are the whitest people. Like, Kamala's just surrounded by this circle of like white nerds and weird people, and they're all like kind of trying to dance, and it's like a really sad. Whereas Michelle Obama is just a much better speaker. Like Michelle Obama.
Why didn't she run?
I don't know why.
She would have won.
She is
in a landslide.
When you watch her talk, you go, she has political talent. It's raw. It's amazing. She can deliver. She can deliver.
She didn't want to. She went with it through her husband. Fuck doing that.
I think she's like, fuck this. It's probably a shitty job.
Not only that, you don't make as much money as you do being an ex-president.
Yeah, I think if Trump didn't have the rallies, he might not want to even do it because it probably sucks once you're in there, but it's probably fun to be able to go on the road. Like, he goes on the road like a comedian.
Right.
And he's able to kind of, I bet once you get in there and you realize, oh, this is how it all works, and this is how many deals everybody has that are pre-existing, and if I touch this, this happens. If I touch that, that happens.
Yeah.
I bet it's probably not that fun.
Well, I bet it's probably fun. Well, first of all, Trump is almost 80 years old, right? He's been famous most of his life.
Yeah, that's
right?
a good
Most
point.
of his adult life. And at this point in time, he's not on The Apprentice anymore. How's he get his jollies?
Right.
You gotta have fun. He's performing when he goes out and he does those. He kills. He has bits.
He kills. People love it.
Yeah. He's just funny shit, man.
And here's the thing: and Andrew Sullivan, who's a writer from the UK, who's again not even he's voting for Kamala, but he lives in America. But he said the thing about Trump is like you can't say the rallies are not democratic. They're the most democratic thing. It might be. He goes, it's America in its foulest glory. Like, listen, it might be crass, and it might be certain parts of it might feel, vulgar or whatever, but it is democratic to have people come out to speak directly to them and then have them vote for you. That is, in essence, democratic.
Well, you have the same thing on both sides, right?
Yeah.
You have low information tribal voters.
Right.
So you have low information tribal voters on the left who really do think Trump said there's very fine people on both sides and really do believe in the Russia hoax, really do believe in all that stuff. And then you have people on the other side that are like ready to fucking shoot liberals.
That's right.
And they have their signs, their Trump signs electrocuted in their front yard to make sure people don't steal them. And there's people that are off the rails tribally. When you have a group, and this is what I try to just, if you make a group and anybody could join that group, it's going to be infiltrated by idiots.
Right.
100% of the time.
Yeah.
And then those people are going to do radical things in the name of your group, and then you have the Proud Boys.
Yes. And then you have the extremes. You have people that just drift towards the extremes.
Yeah.
And the whole premise of political life in America should be to keep people from drifting to those crazy extremes.
100%. And
That
the more
should be
you
it.
meet people in the middle, the less they're going to do that. The more you're reasonable, instead of attacking people in this fucking crazy way where we know it's not true. I used to think Obama was the best president ever. Because Obama, I think, still to this day, the best statesman. He was the best example that you could take this guy who is from a single family. It's not like single mom.
Right.
He didn't grow up with great privilege. Obviously a brilliant guy. Obviously very smart, great orator. And, hey, we elected a black president. Maybe racial tensions can relax a little bit in this country. Realize anybody could rise based on the merit of what they can do and who they are and what they stand for. I was like, he's the best.
Right.
Finally, I felt really good about America when Obama was the president. Obviously, I wasn't paying attention to politics back then because I didn't understand about he was one of the worst presidents ever in terms of going after whistleblowers. Like, that was a part of the Hope and Change website, was that they were going to provide safety to whistleblowers. That's not the case at all. It was one of the worst.
No, Obama was an extension in many ways of the national security policies of George W. Bush.
Yeah.
Which was a, kind of zero tolerance policy for whistleblowers. And it was the government has proprietary information and You know, if
there was two things that were passed during his administration that should terrify people. One of them, I think NDAA was passed during his administration, and the other one was the CIA's ability to use propaganda.
Right.
That the intelligence agencies are now legally allowed to lie and use propaganda and fake stories in the interest of national security.
Yeah. The problem really...
This episode is brought to you by the Farmer's Dog. Dogs are amazing. They're loyal. They're lovable. Like, just having Marshall around can make my day 10 times better. And I'm sure you love your dog just as much, and you want to do your best to help them live longer, healthier, happier lives. And a healthy life for your dog starts with healthy food, just like it does for us. There's a reason having a balanced diet is so important. So how do you know if your dog's food is as healthy and as safe as it can be? Well, Farmer's Dog gives you that peace of mind by making fresh, real food developed by board-certified nutritionists to provide all the nutrients your dog needs. And their food is human grade, which means it's made to the same quality and safety standards as human food. Very few pet foods are made to this strict standard. And let's be clear, human-grade food doesn't mean the food is fancy. It just means it's safe and healthy. It's simple, real food from people who care about what goes into your dog's body. The Farmer's Dog makes it easy to help your dog live a long, healthy life by sending you fresh food that's pre-portioned just for your dog's needs. Because every dog is different. And I'm not just talking about breeds. From their size to their personality to their health, every dog is unique. Plus, precise portions can help keep your dog at an ideal weight, which is one of the proven predictors of a long life. Look, no one, dog or human, should be eating highly processed foods for every meal. It doesn't matter how old your dog is. It's always a great time to start investing in their health and happiness. So, try the Farmer's Dog today. You can get 50% off your first box of fresh, healthy food at thefarmersdog.com/Rogan. Plus, you get free shipping. Just go to thefarmersdog.com/Rogan. Tap the banner or visit this episode's page to learn more. Offer applicable for new customers only. This episode is brought to you by Paramount Network. Sunday, November 10th is the epic return of Yellowstone, and it's only on Paramount Network. What will become of the Dutton family? Can they save the Yellowstone Ranch? How far will Beth and Rip go to protect the family legacy? Generations of blood have led to this, and nothing will prepare you for this must-see premiere event. The epic return of Yellowstone, Sunday, November 10th at 8, 7 Central on Paramount Network.
Is you're taking on, when you take on this behemoth, this thing that we've built, it's very difficult to make inroads. And I wish Trump luck, I wish anyone luck that is trying to take this blob on, this
also
unruly, unelected, unaccountable.
You don't know how to do the job. You've never done it before. And they don't tell you how to do the job until you get in there. No one explains to you what the fuck really goes on until you're behind the closed doors.
Yeah.
That's why you got a guy like Putin. He knows how to run Russia. He's been running Russia for 25 fucking years.
Yeah.
This guy knows how to do that job.
Yeah.
He's really good at it. Like,
he's very good.
If you take a comic on the road with you and he's got to do an arena and he's only been doing comedy for 10 months, you're like, hey, buddy.
Well, Putin's job is to just mediate conflicts between oligarchs, which is what he does very well. And I think that's what people misunderstand about Russia. I've read a lot about Russia.
And poison rivals. He's really good at
He's got, people get sick, Joe.
They
and
do.
I was so mad they all got Russian money. They gave Tim Pool and all these people Russian money. I've been defending Russia for free for 2 years on my show. Not $1.
How did they get that money? What is the actual story behind the Russian money?
I don't
thing?
know, but it was a front group that was, I guess Russia was giving this group money and they were sponsoring these media entities that were, I don't think they even knew. I don't think the people knew that they were getting Russian money, but some of them might have been able to sniff it out. I don't really know.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
Isn't that a way that they could compromise you without compromising you?
Sure.
Just say you're connected to Russian money. It doesn't matter what your opinion is. Like, say if your opinion is counter to the narrative, but they sponsor you.
Yeah.
And they give you the money, and then it leaks.
1,000%. That could have been it. It could have also been Russia doing it. It could have been us doing it. They could have killed Navalny. We could have killed Navalny. There was no reason for them to kill Navalny. He was in a Siberian prison. We had a very...
But he was an enemy of Putin, right?
But he was in a prison in Siberia.
That Putin just wanted to get him whacked?
No, because Navalny was never widely popular in Russia. This is a lie. Navalny was a very, kind of, anti-Jewish, like kind of really right-wing character, and a lot of his early writings were about that. Then he took a trip to Germany, and then he came back incredibly progressive and very enlightened, talking about Western values.
Really?
So he met someone somewhere that said, actually, this is better. And he came and said, okay, and they're like, tamp down the Jew stuff. So then he goes back to Russia, does all the things. He makes these documentaries that all the Putin's oligarch friends have big houses. Can you imagine that? People that are working with the government get really rich and have big houses? This is crazy. This is only in Russia. So Navalny does this whole thing, and he shows all the corruption in Russia. And then our good government people go, look how corrupt Russia is. Putin's cronies get all these big houses. And Americans go, oh, my God, it's so corrupt over there. And then, listen, they try to poison him. I'm not defending you saying Putin's a great guy, but this idea that, we like to look at other places and identify things that we are also doing here.
Well, that was one of the things that Trump said that people get very upset about.
We kill people here, too.
Yeah.
So I don't want to live in Russia, and I don't think Russia's a better place to live. And I think that the childish admiration for Putin among some people on the right is a little silly, because they wouldn't want to live there either, and it wouldn't be good to do a podcast in Russia. That being said, why are we spending billions and billions of dollars to try to drain the Russian military over a land border with the Ukraine? We have zero, and the reason is BlackRock and all these companies are being promised a lot of land in the Ukraine. They're being promised Ukraine's a breadbasket of Europe. There's tons of agricultural land. A lot of it has a ton of, there's minerals.
Yeah.
Lindsey Graham, Jamie probably has that quote where Lindsey Graham literally said the quiet part out loud, where he said they've got all these minerals. We can't let Putin get that money. He says, Lindsey Graham, we can't let Putin get that money. And he says it.
He's my favorite.
And he says it, and he's saying it out loud. And so a lot of people are just like, listen, and the Navalny thing happened when we had a bill that was, I think it was a $60 billion bill for the Russia-Ukraine war that wasn't incredibly popular. People were getting sick of it. And then when Navalny died, again, I don't know who did it, but when he died, there was a renewed, look how bad. Don't you see why we need this money? Look how terrible this person is. So it would have been a weird time for Putin to kill him. It wouldn't have made any sense.
Right.
Putin's aware that we have a bill on deck. There's something crazy about Putin killing him exactly at that time.
Let me hear Lindsey Graham talk. Let me hear him talk.
Ukraine. I am for Ukraine support. We can't pull the plug on Ukraine, let Putin get away with this. We need to be all in with the goal of allowing Ukraine to evict the Russians.
Pause for a second. Tell me you couldn't picture that guy with a ball gag and like leather type
that's
bikini
the least
on.
Of what he has. But Jamie, there's another thing where he literally talks about the minerals, the rare earth minerals that are in the Ukraine, which is the entire reason. It's like I put it on my Instagram. It's like it's one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Yeah,
this one right here.
Ukraine sits on. Go back up to the top where it said it.
They're sitting on $1 trillion worth of minerals that could be good to our economy. So I want to keep helping our friends in Ukraine.
They're sitting on $10 to $12 trillion of critical minerals in Ukraine. They could be the richest country in all of Europe. I don't want to give that money and those assets to Putin to share with China. If we help Ukraine now, they can become the best business partner we ever dreamed of.
There we go.
Pause. How crazy is that guy? And
Crazy.
how crazy is his job?
Yeah.
International fuckery.
Yeah.
Money and
well, he's
minerals
kind of,
and...
I would imagine something I should have been is he's a kind of a closeted gay supervillain, which seems like a fun thing to be. Why would we let Putin get that money?
Is he supposed to be married?
Isn't he married?
Find out.
But I mean, it's a fun thing, and
there's something funny about like a feminine male
he's a gay
warmonger.
supervillain, which is great.
Yeah.
Let Putin get that money. They'd be the best business partners we've ever had.
Trillions and trillions of
Trillions
dollars
of
in
minerals. I love pussy.
Yeah, it's the best.
Trillions of minerals in that Ukraine's wet pussy.
Ukrainian pussy, something.
It's crazy. But then you think about it, and there's all these young Ukrainian men and Russian men who are dying in this war because we've consistently told them not to make peace. And that's the dark part of it.
He's never been married, has no children. Interesting.
Oh, interesting.
He was close friends with John McCain. What's that supposed to mean? Why are you throwing McCain under the bus? He's dead. He can't defend himself.
So Lindsey Graham is a fun gay supervillain, and you need that. You need it because...
And it just made his way up the ladder.
He just made his way up the ladder.
Like, those guys are just like different kinds of people. And I think that's what most normal people who live normal lives have a hard time understanding. Because if you are a guy who works at a fucking auto repair shop, you have no relationships at all with people like Lindsey Graham. You don't even think they exist.
Right.
You know, it's like, you know what it's like when, well, let me tell you something. You don't have kids, but when you have kids, one of the things that happens is you go to these things where you have to hang out with parents. And the only things that you and the parents have in common is that you both have kids. And so you have these fucking agonizing conversations. And then you realize, oh, these people don't know any fun people. Right. They don't have anyone in their life that lives a fun life. And they start asking questions like, how do you come up with your jokes? Like, how do you make your podcast? Who are you talking to? How do you get these people to come on? Like, what do you do? Like, how'd you get into the UFC? Like, all that stupid shit. But it's like, they don't know anybody who's living a weird life. Right? We don't know anybody who's living that weird life. That weird Lindsey Graham life where you're all huddled up together wearing fucking suits and ties, and you're in these halls of justice, these important, you're in the Senate room, you're in this room where everybody stands up and claps when the president says the most mundane shit.
Well, it's also that political, that political, the survival instinct.
It seems like fun.
Somebody has,
fun.
Decades of being in that position.
I'm thinking about running.
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
What do you think, I should be a congressperson? That'd probably be easy.
You got to go governor.
Governor.
Executive.
What state? Let me get a fucked up
do
state.
this. We live in it.
No, I would never run against Abbott. I love that guy.
Right then and there, you can't. You're not cut out for it.
Yeah, I got to move.
You're not cut out for it.
I am. I'll do it a different way. I got to move somewhere
Utah.
fucked up.
Utah. You could
become a
Park
Mormon.
City.
I'll become a Mormon. And
I would have
Utah.
a lot of fun. I think about it because I like D.C., and I think it might be fun for a few weeks to be like a press secretary. That would be great.
I bet those people party.
Of course they party.
I bet they party hard.
They party in ways that are probably too hard.
You know, did I tell you the one night where
I think there's
went out?
documentaries about how hard they party.
Oh, did I tell you one night that I went out with Dave Chappelle in Denver? Ever tell you the story?
Yeah, it was like the wildest thing ever.
Well, it's like he knew these after hours places.
Yeah.
It was like a scene in John Wick.
Right.
We went through an alleyway. We went through this big door into some like fucking warehouse. And then there was this bar, this beautifully appointed bar where the guy was wearing like a fucking a tuxedo shirt with a vest on.
Right.
And the woman was beautiful. And there was no one in the bar.
Right.
There was me and Dave Chappelle and a few other people.
Yeah.
And they kicked us out because Dave sparked up a joint.
Oh, that's so funny.
And then he took me to another place that was crazy. But it's like he knows places where you can go and be private because he's stupid famous.
Of course.
So when you're a fucking politician and you're a part of an industry that has existed in these shadows for decades, doing things outside of the public's knowledge, the full integration of the intelligence agencies and the deep state, and everybody's got dirt on everybody, and there's madams and fucking there's all kinds of hookers and crazy shit going on.
Right.
You know, so many people make it through that are like the Anthony Weiner guy, absolute freaks.
Yeah.
And they're in there. They're in there deep. So it's not just one of those. There's probably a fucking shitload of them.
It's an economy.
They keep each other's secrets, and they probably get together and they put on masks and fuck each other, just like eyes wide shut.
Yeah,
it's probably real. It's probably otherwise. What are they doing it for?
It's a good point. What is the point?
How do you let your hair down?
Well, that's the whole thing with the Obama chef. People go, "Oh, the chef," and I go, "If you can't drown your lover in Martha's Vineyard, why do anything?"
Right. Why
if
be
you're
president?
the president, what the fuck is the point? I mean, truly, think about leaders throughout history. What is the point of not being able to kill your lover in 2 feet of water when he's a great swimmer.
He's a great swimmer and very fit, and none of it made any sense.
But it's like, that's the whole point. It's like...
What happened to that investigation?
There will never be one.
Weird.
There's never going to be one because at the end of the day, I don't think America really wants to know. I don't think they want to know.
I think Tucker Carlson wants to know.
Tucker might. He's maybe one guy that wants to know, but even him, does he really want to know? That's the whole thing.
He
It's
had
like
the guy on that claims he sucked Obama's dick.
I know, that's
They
hilarious.
talked for an hour.
I know. But that's the thing. It's like I think that there's a deep misunderstanding of what this place is, and it's not only. It's not only like crazy, like, oh, it's sex parties and stuff like that, but we're doing a lot of things all over the world that people don't really know about. Nobody's abreast of what we're doing.
Right.
We're doing things in Africa. We're doing things here. We're doing things there.
Right.
We've got we got a footprint everywhere.
100%.
And we're backing people that sometimes they're people we align with our values. A lot of times they're not. Right? Like the whole Israel-Gaza thing is a big problem for Harris. It's a major issue for her in Michigan. And
Interesting.
It's big.
Did you see the reports that she was running 2 separate messages to 2 separate places? She was running a pro-Israel message to one place, and CNN called her out on it.
Yeah.
And running a pro-Palestine message to another place?
A lot of them do. That's
crazy that people are not going to check. And it's crazy that CNN called her out on it.
Yeah.
Do I have hope for CNN? Like, I think I do.
Yeah.
I think CNN probably recognizes, hey, we have to actually just say the fucking news, except for about pharmaceutical drugs.
Yeah.
But everything else, just say the news.
And I don't know what Trump will do in that situation with the Israelis.
I hope Elon
Palestinians.
buys CNN.
I hope that we don't invade Iran.
I should have asked him yesterday if he was going to buy CNN. That would be amazing. Imagine
He's
if
gonna
Elon
buy.
bought
You think
CNN.
he'll buy CNN?
Why
Does
not?
CNN make any money?
It's worth a lot of money.
Is it?
Yeah, because you think about the money that they generate through advertising.
But it's all the pharmaceutical ad. That's
Right.
the problem. So if he buys
That's not
CNN,
all, but it's a large chunk. But
Yeah,
the
but-
thing is,
yeah.
like, that money is real money. That's what keeps them afloat. Like,
Sure.
so if
Yeah.
their numbers, if they had exist on YouTube, like
Yeah.
if CNN's numbers existed on YouTube, there's
Yeah.
no way they'd be able to support a giant fucking building filled with
well,
employees.
wouldn't he
and-
be beholden to the same corporate advertisers that hold everybody hostage?
How so?
Meaning, like, the biggest advertiser in all of these cable networks is pharmaceutical companies because they're all the demographic is geriatric people watching them.
Well, the problem is
Yeah.
that you can advertise for pharmaceutical drug companies in this country, and only 2 countries in the world allow it, us and New Zealand, and New Zealand's more restrictive than the United States.
Like, have you ever watched the ads on Fox News? It's
Oh, yeah.
crazy. It's all like Life Alert. It's like fall down in the shower.
Well, it's all
pharmaceuticals.
Scared. Fox News, if you think about it, the demographics is older, scared white people. that's what I think about when I think of Fox News.
Yeah, so I guess you just got to find a way to make it profitable without those types of ads, or those companies have to let you.
But this is my point.
Yeah.
I think it's a Ponzi scheme. I don't think it is profitable without those kinds of ads.
No, it won't be.
Because it's not profitable based on the viewership, right? So you can get major advertisers who are willing to spend a lot of money for the prestige of being on CNN. There's
Yeah.
something to that. You know, like an ad on CNN maybe means more than an ad on YouTube. But the reality is, if you look at the actual numbers, like how much revenue you're generating for your company, unless you are engaged purely in propaganda, and this is the argument. So, like, what was the quote that someone said to us the other day about how it was Callie Means said how much the pharmaceutical drug companies spend on advertising every year, and it's billions of dollars just on ads, billions and billions of dollars. I think was it 8 or 80? What did he say it was? Jamie will find it. But
it's got to be crazy.
It's an insane amount of money. But that money is not making them money in terms of so many people are seeing those ads are going out and buying drugs. What that is doing is it's ensuring that there's no criticism. It's
Right.
ensuring that you don't question any narratives.
That's right.
That all the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. types, they all get demonized. They all get called kooks. They all get called dangerous anti-science people.
By the
But
way,
I'm always quoting the
I'm
science.
excited. You know, if Trump wins, I'm excited to see if RFK really gets to like start
Look at that money.
doing
Look
stuff.
at that number. 2023, pharmaceutical industry spent around $15.58 billion in advertising. $15 billion in ads. That is crazy. That's so much fucking money, man.
Well, how are people going to know about the drugs?
It's not that, man. I don't think
No,
it's
I'm
that.
kidding.
I think
Of
it's
course.
a little bit of that because it normalizes it. It gets the words out, whatever.
Well,
it
we
is.
also
Ozempic,
don't have
Ozempic.
a functioning healthcare system.
Right.
So it's not supposed to be like a grocery store where you pick the drug.
It does, if you have a good doctor,
right,
you can have a functioning healthcare system.
Yeah.
But you got to have some cash.
You
have
know,
to
that's
know,
the problem. It's like we have everything's for profit. Everything's like there's a million. You ever go to a pharmacy in like a Scandinavian country? There's like 12 things.
Yes.
They don't have like our pharmacies are. There's aisles and aisles. It's like a grocery store of all kinds of different shit.
It's just a real problem when you allow people to profit wildly off of people being sick. Then they have a vested interest in people staying sick.
Well, that's
just,
why,
whether it's mental illness, physical illness,
Sure.
whatever it is.
What about RFK? Do you think it would be interesting to see him try because he's for a long time has been an advocate on behalf of not only obviously environmental stuff that's well known, but like public health.
Yes.
So it'd be interesting to see like what.
100%. First of all, why do we have fluoride in our fucking water?
Yeah.
That's one of the things that they're talking about that RFK
Well,
was
the
saying.
British people's teeth are gross.
Yeah, brush your fucking teeth.
Is that why?
Yeah.
But they have fucked up teeth.
I think part of the reason why they have fucked up teeth, they ate a lot of soft foods for generation after generation
Isn't that
after
the
generation.
fluoride, though, that doesn't mangle?
Well, fluoride does have a reaction to your teeth, but, I mean, you're swallowing it. So how much of an effect is it? And also, it's really bad. It's bad for IQs. There's a direct correlation between high levels of fluoride in drinking water and low IQs in children. There's a corresponding number depending upon the amount of fluoride in the water. I think the whole way they found this out about fluoride in teeth, I think it had to do with natural fluoride, and I think it all began in Texas.
What is fluoride?
Fluoride's a mineral. And fluoride is also a neurotoxin, like at certain levels, like depending on how much. But the point is, the corresponding increase in sugar consumption is not taken into consideration when people are looking at when they started, people started getting tooth decay.
Right.
And like whether or not they had fluoride in the water. Like there's a time in our history where all of a sudden massive amounts of processed food and sugar are introduced into our diet. Like whatever it is, 70s, 80s, whatever year it was, where sugary cereals and fucking cookies and candy bars just became everywhere. That's when people started getting more cavities. That's also when people started experiencing all these health problems.
Right.
All that stuff is together.
Chronic diseases and
the
autoimmune
solution
conditions.
is not put fucking fluoride in the water. That's like saying, oh, some people get skin cancer. Let's put sunscreen in the apples. No. Hey, you fucking idiot.
Right.
First of all, you can have toothpaste with fluoride in it if you so choose. Mine doesn't have fluoride in it. I haven't had fluoride toothpaste for fucking years.
Yeah.
I don't have any cavities. You know why? I brush my teeth.
Where is all this non-fluoride toothpaste? Can you share it with some of
Tom's
us?
of Maine.
Oh, at Tom's of Maine.
Yeah, it's good stuff. There's a lot of companies that sell, and Eddie Bravo had a really good point, believe it or not. Eddie Bravo had a really good point that wasn't crazy. He said, why would they say fluoride-free in a toothpaste if fluoride wasn't potentially bad for you? Why would anybody want fluoride-free toothpaste? If fluoride was really the active ingredient that was preventing you from having tooth decay.
Well, it's also when I saw like Doug Emhoff at Whataburger or Trump at McDonald's, I was like, we shouldn't have these politicians be in these, like, they're kind of like poison factories. We should have politicians, that's like kind of showing up to a Marlboro factory and lighting up. Like there's something weird to me about.
Yes, but.
Yeah.
Yes, but. I eat McDonald's.
I know,
if I'm on the road, a year ago, I had a quarter pounder with cheese.
You have to stop comparing yourself to like other people because like you have a tremendous amount of discipline, and it's like the 9-year-old getting fat at McDonald's is not going to be able. So I'm just like this celebration of fast food. And listen, I love fast food, and I was raised on it. My family raised me on it. Thanks, but like when you see politicians going in there, it is a weird feeling.
It is weird.
It's like odd to see that.
Yeah, but I liken it to being at a Coca-Cola factory. I don't have a problem.
That's bad too. Probably.
I know, but I think again,
RFK's
I do have discipline.
Got to send the military into these places. Taco Bell, Denny's. They fucked us all up.
I say
Taco Bell now has the Mexi Melt is back. Did you know that?
I don't even know what the Mexi Melt is.
It's on the decades menu. Taco Bell's bringing back things from previous decades, and they've brought the Mexi Melt back. They're fucking because Ozempic and all this shit hit, and now fast food's doubling down because fast food's going fuck me, fuck you.
Right.
They're going to start to bring back shit. This is now coming back.
That does look good. That is the least Mexican of all Mexican foods.
Yeah, no, it has nothing to do with Mexico.
Yeah,
but
it's just
fast
garbage.
food will not go away quietly. They think they're going to, we're going to bring in these drugs. Fast food's like, you'll see what we'll do.
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll
Let
see
them
what
do
we'll
it.
do.
I'm fine with that. No one's going to mandate Taco Bell. That's the thing.
But there is something. You go to Australia and it's a nanny state. Nobody's allowed to do anything. But you know what? They're kind of hot, all of them.
Not only that, they have grass-fed beef in their burgers.
I know.
My buddy Adam came over here and he always gets a quarter pounder with cheese in Australia, whatever the fuck they call it. And he said. He goes, dude, I had one over here. It tastes like cardboard. It was fucking terrible. He goes, back home, it's like fresh grass-fed beef.
Well, also, they'll pull you over. If you're driving in Australia, they just have DWI checkpoints no matter who you are, and you'll just go through them and blow. And obviously, I'm against that because I think it's, it's like infringing on your freedom. But they love it there.
Well, they don't have guns.
They go, we love it, and they go, we feel safe. But it's also, they've just accepted it.
Well, they've gotten accustomed to it, but they didn't used to be like that. It's literally a prison colony.
Yeah, but they don't care. That's the thing.
But they do.
Do they?
They do. They're
I
very
talk
upset.
to Australians, and they're like happy with it.
My buddy wants to move here.
Of course he does, because he's your buddy. But most of them are like not that bothered by it. They don't care.
I wonder if that's true.
Yeah, I just don't know.
It's their reality. It's the reality that they live in, and
because they look at us and they go, "You guys have school shootings. You have poison food, and you get to work and drop dead and all that stuff." We are nannied, which I would never want to live there. But I don't know. I talk to people there. They go, yeah, they're nannied. They don't let us do things like they regulate the food or they have the DWI checkpoints, but they kind of accept it.
Interesting. There's probably a trade-off if it doesn't get out of line.
Sure.
You don't want people driving drunk. And if you just had DUI checkpoints everywhere.
And they all drink. They're all drunk.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
But if you had those DUI checkpoints all over the place, if people just accept it as a part of life, how much of DUIs would drop?
A ton.
A ton.
But I still hate the idea of it because I'm an American and we're Americans.
Well, especially if you're not. Here's the thing. Like, you can piss or blow hot for like a drink and a half. Right? Like, what's the tolerance?
I've gotten in more car accidents sober than I did drunk. I drove drunk for many years, never hurt anyone. I got in an accident today completely sober, rushing to get here.
Well, wasn't your fault, though.
Yeah, it was. I kind of crossed into a lane I shouldn't have, but it was just tires. It was a quick thing. It was a lovely man. Everybody was fine. And he'll sue me later. I'll sue him back. Who cares? You know what? Nothing matters. Everyone's fine. That's the thing about America. It doesn't matter. You can just sue people and they'll sue you back, and then lawyers figure it out.
Bro, if you go to court in those sunglasses, you're going to lose.
I may lose. Doesn't matter. I'll just make more money.
Where'd you get these?
I got them at Louis Vuitton.
These are fucking great.
They're sick. I figured I'd show up with a good.
Tell me if I can pull these off.
Absolutely. You did it.
What do you think?
You should have endorsed Trump in those. They are sick. They're sick. Austin, shout out to the Domain. Louis Vuitton at the Domain.
Can you send me a link?
They're great.
Send me a link before I forget.
Send them a link.
I'm going to get a pair of those.
So you think does anyone concede tonight? Does anyone have a victory speech?
No, I think it takes days.
North Carolina is the first to call, they say.
What was the longest one? Was the dangling Chads one?
Yeah, that was 2 months. It was hilarious. SNL was doing really funny stuff. That was when Will Ferrell was Bush.
Did you hear what happened with SNL with her? So
yeah,
SNL violated
him. They should have given him equal time.
So they have to run ads for him now.
That is really funny.
They had to run like some 90-second ad. Is that true? Find out if that's true. Is it true? Yeah. I read it on Twitter, but, could be some Chinese bot planting stuff in my feed, so I say stupid
things.
Things.
They're watching our election,
100%.
He's watching.
Like this. Like, imagine voting.
Right.
Imagine just let these fucking dumbasses pick who gets to fucking run the military.
I want to go there so bad. Have you ever gone there?
No. No, I went to Taiwan once, but it was a stopover on the way to Thailand.
Do you like the idea of China? Like, I don't mean do you like the idea of China, but like visiting it.
Yeah, I would love to visit.
It's fascinating, right?
I would love to see the Great Wall.
Well, you're into that. Ancient cultures.
And I would love to go to Mongolia. The elk hunting in Mongolia is a big thing. Like,
Yeah.
There's a lot of like elk hunters go to Mongolia. Mongolia has like a large elk population, and a lot of people aren't voting. What is this? Someone's in trouble here, right? Well, not quite. In a statement to Hollywood Reporter, FCC reportedly claimed that Brendan's statement does not reflect their views on the appearance. Oh, who's Brendan?
He's the guy who was tweeting it. He's one of the 5 members of the FCC.
Okay, so the agency added they had not made any determination regarding political programming rules, nor have we received a complaint from any interested parties. Here's my take on it. If you can't do a sketch on Saturday Night Live, if that's promoting a candidate, like, you have to have equal time. Like, why do they have to do that, but we don't? Why is that? Like, if
they're governed by the FCC, right?
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
Think about that. If I just decided, you know what, I don't want to interview Kamala. I only want to hear one side of the story.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to hear Tim Walz. I only want to hear J.D. Vance. If I just decided to do that, I could do that.
Right.
Which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Right, if it's the #1 podcast on Earth, like why am
Yeah,
I
but you know what it
even
is?
allowed to do that?
Because
Sneaky.
you're not on government regulated airwaves.
That's my point.
Sure.
Like, why is the
Well,
government?
we don't want that. Let's not ask why.
But
we don't want them coming in.
Well, they shouldn't be doing anywhere. They shouldn't be anywhere. You should be able to do whatever the fuck you want.
I'm more for that.
But here's
than
the thing:
coming into this space.
But why is it okay to do? Why is it okay to regulate in that regard? But you're not regulating the percentage of positive versus negative news stories. Like you're choosing.
Sure.
Choosing.
I always
only
thought
to-
the regulation was just like no tits until 9 p.m.
But it's like the rules of equal airtime.
Remember when Sipowicz showed his ass on NYPD Blue? Like, that was a big deal.
That was a big deal.
That was a big deal. Dennis Franz. Like, I thought it was
Didn't they say bullshit once, too? That was a big deal?
That was a big deal. Like, I didn't
said bullshit on
yeah,
TV.
I didn't realize it was like it was equal time. But I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, I think Stanhope had an issue with that when he was fake running for president.
Oh.
Because Stanhope said, I'm going to have to stop doing shows because shows almost count as like a campaign speech.
Oh.
And you have to offer the opposing side equal time or
Oh,
something
that's
along those
crazy.
lines. Yeah, like I think there's laws. We should call him. Should I
Call him.
Let's call him right now. Call Stanhope.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
All right, let's see. Let's see what he has to say. Because he actually, shit. Stanhope, what are you doing? He's got a different number. Hold on a second. Stanhope. Call Stanhope bat phone. That's the real one. He's got a bat phone. I love a good bat phone. God, I hope he picks up. He's probably drinking, staring at the TV right now, yelling things, smoking cigarettes. Come on, Douglas. Fuck.
Might call back.
I'll text him.
But that's interesting because there are all these rules that we're kind of, somewhat familiar with that govern the whole thing.
Yeah.
That you're allowed to do this.
Douglas, I'm live on the air with Tim Dillon. Call me as soon as you see this. I have a question about when you ran for president.
Jamie, what about the exit polls? Is there an exit poll?
They don't release those until the things close as well.
Ugh.
I was looking for
Are you
something
are you anxiety ridden?
No, I don't think so.
Are you worried at all about this? I mean, about the election, not in general. Real
Not
life.
really.
Not
I have
really?
more anxiety about other things in the election.
What's the big? Well, me it's
We
war.
all Google weird diseases and shit.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Well, I mean, stay home.
This episode is brought to you by Simply Safe. The holidays are coming up, and actually, Simply Safe is already having a Black Friday sale. So, if you're worried about the safety of your home and family, now is the time to get home security. Simply Safe can stop intruders before they break into your home. They're not an old school system that only does something about it after someone is already inside. With Simply Safe's Active Guard outdoor protection, they take home security to the next level. If someone is lurking around your home or acting suspicious, agents will see him in real time. They'll even talk to them directly, set off your spotlights, and call the police before anyone can break in. There's no long-term contracts, no cancellation fees, and it's around $1 a day for all this protection. So take advantage of their Black Friday sale. This week only, you can get 60% off any new system with a select professional monitoring plan. Head to simplysafe.com/Rogan to claim your discount and make sure your home is safe this season. Keep your home, your family, and your peace of mind protected with Simply Safe. Again, go to simplysafe.com/Rogan. There's no safe like Simply Safe. This episode is brought to you by Paramount Network. Sunday, November 10th is the epic return of Yellowstone, and it's only on Paramount Network. What will become of the Dutton family? Can they save the Yellowstone Ranch? How far will Beth and Rip go to protect the family legacy? Generations of blood have led to this, and nothing will prepare you for this must-see premiere event. The epic return of Yellowstone, Sunday, November 10th at 8, 7 Central on Paramount Network. Come on, Tim, let me get you healthy.
It has nothing to do with that. Weird diseases attack healthy people all the time.
Oh, you mean like Ebola type stuff?
Oh, well, the stuff that people just get stuff.
Oh.
Nobody can do sit-ups to the brain so a brain tumor doesn't happen.
You might be able to.
No, you can't.
I think I'm
That's
gonna pull
you
that off.
think so,
Yeah.
and that makes you feel good, but that's
Yeah,
great.
I feel great.
That's great. You want to live for 300 years? For what? That's the whole thing.
I'm enjoying myself.
No, I'm enjoying myself too. But you want to live through the Jake Paul administration? Like, what?
Dude, I'm going to be his VP.
It's 82 degrees in New York
Me and
City.
Jake Paul running shit.
It's
How about
82
that?
degrees in New York City right now. It's I don't know if it matters who wins the election.
You know what's
Like,
worse than
yeah,
82 degrees?
Yeah.
Minus 82 degrees. Everybody
Yeah, but
wants.
it doesn't-
Everybody's scared of global warming. Listen, you don't want the fucking ice age.
Nobody wants the ice age.
Yeah, but these fucking eggheads want to spray shit in the sky to protect us from the sun's rays.
Well, nobody wants that. But
And-
it just
and
feels like
cool the
eventually
earth.
the planet will expel us.
Nah.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think the
we're
planet will
gonna
get rid of us?
The only thing that's going to happen to us, look, the planet could fuck us up if the planet hits us with the big one that could get us for sure. Oh, I'm on Do Not Disturb. Hold on a second here. The big one that could get us for sure is
It's an asteroid. Yeah.
Or super volcano. Either one
Yeah.
of those could really, really fuck us up.
Yeah.
Because those are real and those happen all the fucking time. So that's our number one problem is a natural disaster. A supernova in a nearby galaxy would kill us. Any sort of like real blast from the sun would wipe out all our communication system and our grid. There's things that have definitely happened in the past that if they happened today, we'd be fucked. But I think our biggest threat is us. I think our biggest threat is these crazy motherfuckers that are making all sorts of money off of war and they keep pushing these agendas in these countries, and they're pushing international conflict that we're all involved in.
Absolutely.
And it's nuts, and I don't think it's going to last much longer, and I think that's where they're getting hyper-focused on getting things done right now. I don't think you're going to be able to do this when you have sentient artificial intelligence. I think that is the end of all that. That's the end of all this global thermonuclear war. That shit's all going to go away. I think what they're doing right now is this mad dash to control as much resources and power and money as possible before the entire fucking world changes and you have robot aliens living amongst us. Elon said yesterday that he thinks that, what year did he say? How many years? 20 years from now? There'll be more robots in Earth than there will people, or in America.
Wait a minute.
More
Hold on.
robots than
In
people.
20 years?
What was the year? What was the timeline he gave us? 10 to 20 years, there will
So
be
does he
more
mean
robots,
like,
like Tesla robots. These
Wow.
robots he's making. I said, and I was like, imagine if you just robot bodyguards. You walking down the street, you got two Terminators with you.
Yeah.
Like,
Is this
nobody's gonna
good,
fuck with
though?
you.
Him doing all the robot? Like, let's bring
It's
all the...
better than a lot of other people doing it.
Yeah.
He's moral and ethical about these ideas. He's one of the
Okay.
first people to sound the alarm about artificial intelligence.
That's good. That's important.
He was like, you're going to make our successor. Like, and these fucking people are just running towards this cliff, and
But
no one knows
he
where it
believes that we
takes
got to
us.
merge, right?
Well, he believes now, because he's running his own AI, the large language model that they use for Twitter, Grok, and he's got another startup is involved with NVIDIA. Like, I think he feels like he was an early investor in OpenAI, and I think he's suing them right now because it's not OpenAI anymore. Now it's like
Right.
a private company. It's the whole situation with whether or not they've achieved artificial sentience came up.
Yeah.
You remember when they kicked out Sam Altman for a
And
little
then
bit
he
and they
came
brought him
back,
right back
yeah.
in? Like, what the fuck? Everyone was like, what the fuck are you
Yeah.
doing? I don't know what was going on there, what explanation, but he's worried that there's a race going on. If the wrong people win that race,
it's terrifying.
We're fucked. If China wins that race, and China apparently, whether it's OpenAI or one of these companies, there was some sort of a leak or some sort of a break-in where they believe that someone had access to their information.
Yeah.
See if you can find what that is. Whether it's China that they think
it's scary to imagine the wrong people having that power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
or any group of people having
any group of people, not just
scary.
The wrong people, because the right people
can fuck up.
And they're also, it's absolute power. A hacker stole OpenAI secrets, raising fears that China could too. Security breach at the maker of ChatGPT last year revealed internal discussions among researchers and other employees, but not the code behind OpenAI systems. Okay, so they didn't get the code, but they got internal discussions. But those internal discussions may have had clues as to like what direction the technology is headed, and maybe solve some puzzles that they didn't know yet. Without, and then you could have, who knows if that's all they got, because there was speculation that they got other things. China's done a wonderful job of like infiltrating stuff. One of the things that Mike Baker pointed out is that there's like a nuclear facility, a military facility that is in, I think, Wyoming, and all around the area, the cell phone towers were all sold to America by the Chinese. That they just make deals with
JD Vance said that
we'll sell you cheaper stuff.
There was a surveillance apparatus built in America that the Chinese backdoored, and now they are using some of it. So
let me tell you what happened in Austin.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what happened in Austin at Formula One. My buddy Bobby owns that racetrack, so I was there with him, and he shows me this picture. Says, "You know what this is?" I go, "What is it?" And he goes, "Someone attached a device to our broadband, to our Wi-Fi, where it was siphoning up people's data. Like someone had attacked, they found it and they got it, and they called whoever it is, Homeland Security or whatever the fuck it is. But so if you go to like a big event and you're using the open Wi-Fi, there's a real chance that someone has set up a thing where they're going to siphon up all that data. And who knows what the fuck they're going to use it for. Whether they're getting your passwords to your credit card account, or whether they're getting this or that, or passwords to social media sites, emails, whatever the fuck they're getting. But if you're just willy-nilly using a VPN or not using a VPN and going and getting on Wi-Fi in some place, like you run the real risk of actually being compromised.
Yeah.
And like, what are they getting? Like, what are they doing with all that stuff? I don't know. But if you sell, if you're a hostile government and you sell cell phone towers to your enemy.
It's crazy.
And you just got these dudes who are just contractors who are working for the government. They're not like the most sophisticated of investigative reporters. It's just a guy who has a job. He has to buy a certain amount of these cell phone towers. China will sell them to us for this, while we can buy it from these other companies for a lot more. Let's just get it from China. Just fucking set these things up. And next thing you know, they can drop in on any kind of information that they want. Who knows? There could be a third-party access that no one is aware of until they activate it.
Yeah.
They could just decide to shut all these things down. They might have a kill switch in them. But you're buying, like, that's why they banned Huawei. They banned Huawei because they found compromises in their networks.
Yeah.
And then they knew that the company was aligned with the Chinese government. They're like, hey, you got to get out of here.
They're very good at it. It's corporate espionage. They're incredibly good at it. They've been good at it for decades. And
they're the best at it. But we do it too.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like Trump was right. Like we do it too. What did Huawei get popped for, Jamie? Because I was mad. Because this is back when I was using Android and I wanted a Huawei phone. Because Huawei,
we should just give it to them.
They made the best phones.
Let's just give it to them.
In what way?
Meaning like... it's like all this data they're trying to just give it to them.
What are they going to do with it?
Well, I mean, they're stealing stuff. Let's just give them the patents.
They've been banned or restricted in multiple countries due to the security concerns. Huawei was added to the U.S. Export Administration's regulations entity list, which made it harder for the company to obtain parts from U.S. suppliers. In 2022, the U.S. banned the sale and import of new Huawei communications equipment due to national security concerns. So what were the concerns, though?
think that like they have to report back to like.
Right, it's also like TikTok is a problem, but it makes so much money that we'll just constantly.
Well, we make money from TikTok too, right?
No,
There's
of course.
a TikTok office,
but that's the thing
Austin.
that China realizes that if Americans make money, they're never going to care.
Some lady was heckling me at a show here, and she said she worked for TikTok.
Oh yeah,
it was hilarious. The U.S. banned the sale and import of new communications equipment from 5 Chinese companies, including Huawei and ZTE, amid concerns over national security. What did they do though? What did they? I think there was something to do with routers. Huawei and others have previously denied supplying data to the Chinese government. Yeah, there was something about Wi-Fi routers and different things that they thought could be spied upon.
That's what
5G networks.
Banned for 5G in other countries.
I don't know, but they used to make dope. Well, they probably still do. They made dope phones. There was this Porsche design collaborated with Huawei and made like the best cell phone. And I was trying to buy it, and then I found out you can't buy it in America anymore. I was like, what? And that's when I started looking into it. So that's like 2021 or something like that. Whenever it was, what was the year the ban was put in place?
I don't know. They have a sweet one I wanted to get right now. It's trifold.
Yeah, it's badass. That's what I'm saying.
Just get it.
I think
We're
you can
getting
get it.
spoon-fed.
You just can't use it. Like
Why?
The way you want to. You could use it on Wi-Fi here, but like you couldn't.
It won't
to
do all the stuff. Well, they
cell
can't.
network.
It doesn't even use Google. They don't use the Android operating system
I
because
want
they got
a
banned.
Chinese phone.
Do you know that? Like China got they stopped using that because Huawei got banned from Google. Find out if that's true. Huawei, they weren't allowed to use the Android operating system anymore either.
Isn't there
which
a
is
version
interesting,
of TikTok that is different in China?
Yes. Yeah, very different.
Wait, it says it still runs Android 10, but doesn't support Google Apps and Services.
Right. Why did they do that? Why did they ban them from Google Apps and Services? There must have been some sneaky shit they had
Of
in
course.
apps too.
Yeah,
It's just hilarious. But there's other Chinese companies, like One makes great phones.
Yeah.
I believe that's a Chinese company. You know, there's a bunch of phone manufacturers.
We're just in this globalized world now where this is inevitable.
Well,
You
we're in
have
a
to try to-
globalized world where China is making some things better than we are.
Yeah, same reason.
Yeah.
Spying concerns.
You just have to keep stay as vigilant as you can to try to prevent this from happening. But they're very good at it, and it seems like that's not going to stop.
Well, China's making some insane
I'm worried
cars.
about all kinds of things that they're doing. They're buying up the real estate all over America. They own large swaths of some of our biggest cities. I mean, it's like they're aggressive on a few fronts.
It's kind of crazy they're allowed to buy land around military bases.
It's unreal.
That's like, what?
It's unreal.
Like, what? Imagine trying to pull that off in China. And that's the difference between having a guy who's been in power for fucking decades, really knows how to run the country, versus some person who got elected in a popularity contest.
It's also a difference of when people see the country as a going out of business sale. I mean, you're selling
farms,
selling everything, from out from under everybody, and
it's a yard sale.
This is what the way people are treating America right now is just to fucking throw a sign on it, make your best offer, come in and loot.
Isn't it funny that if you said you have to be American to buy American property, people would be up in arms?
They'd be up in arms, and they'd say it's racist, and the real estate lobby would come out and go, "It's racist
because they want that Russian
because
money.
they want that fucking oligarch dollar."
Like you were the one that told me first about these apartment buildings in New York City.
They're like ghost cities. This is another thing. We all go, and I just read these things. They go, look at these Chinese ghost cities. They built all these cities and nobody lives in them. And I go, if you go to any of these buildings by Central Park, there's like 20% of it occupied, 30% of it. 70% of it is straight up money laundering, where it's people that have purchased multiple apartments under the name of an LLC, a limited liability corporation. And by the way, they've got a lot of them. There's not just one. There's so many of them, shell corps, that you can barely find who owns it. And it causes the price of everything to go up. And they're not living in the city. They're not contributing. They're not tipping at restaurants. They're not buying tickets to Yankee games. They're doing it to move their money out of Russia, China, the United Arab Emirates, Brazil, India, wherever. They're stashing it in these buildings. And it's causing the prices of all of the real estate around it to skyrocket.
Yeah, the real estate in New York is bananas.
Well, it's L.A. It's even in cities like Austin. Obviously, there's not as much of that, but but there are foreign buyers in this market that have pushed it up.
Everywhere. sold for a whopping oh my God.
Yeah.
This apartment sold for $238 million, the highest recorded price for a residential property. Billionaires Rose, a home to 8 ultra-luxury skyscrapers, each equipped with luxurious amenities ranging from cinema rooms to saunas.
Look at that. The average sale price, $9.8 million, and that's in that part of the city. That is the part of the city that is the favorite of foreign money.
Look what it says here. As of 2022, there are 772 unpurchased units.
Because they've built these buildings specifically for
money laundering.
Money laundering.
Wow.
This is not built for regular rich people. Most regular wealthy people cannot afford to live in a $50 million apartment.
Or a $238
million apartment. So the whole thing is incredibly, it's completely manipulated. So it's not a real market that has anything to do with supply and demand. It's artificially manipulated by a lot of wealthy people, and then the real estate lobby loves it. They want it, and the developers like it.
Sure.
And so those big money people love it. And
what's the money? How's the money laundering part of it work?
Because they take money out of whatever country and then they stash it in America in real estate. So they'll come in and buy something cash under an LLC, and that however much money that would have been in their home country, because some of those countries are volatile. And the governments of those countries could decide, okay, you will have money. It's 20% of it's now ours.
Right.
Here's the new tax.
Right.
Give me. I mean, there's people that try to do it here.
Yeah.
They propose wealth taxes, things like that, all the time. Right. Some of them are make some sense. Some of them are ludicrous, but those people are a bit paranoid. There's also political instability in a lot of those countries, and then there's people that just don't like taxes, and there's people that have made money narco trafficking, human trafficking, doing all kinds of things, right? So there's people that go, I have a lot of illicit capital that needs to go to real estate in London. There's an area in London called Mayfair. It's all Russian oligarchs. There's areas, and London is even more than New York. London is the home for international money laundering.
Really?
It's the shadiest city in the world. It's really cool. It's a lot of fun. It really is. I mean, that's the thing about these people. They are fun. And London is a financial capital halfway between New York and Asia. You have the biggest money in the world in London because historically it has been, New York's amazing. And New York's the greatest city in the world in the sense that I think it's the most representative. But London has always been the home of like international finance since, we're talking about, it goes like there's a part of London called the City of London. This is a small little part of it. And it's an area called Knightsbridge. And that's where they have like One Hyde Park. And One Hyde Park is this building with like $150 million apartments. And all these Saudi kids are driving like Bugattis and Lamborghinis there and everything. And they have Harrods is there, the famous store. And it's just a signal to the ultra wealthy. This is where you come. You want your kids to be raised as, British gentlemen and learn the ways of, but it's a home of like international finance. And it's a cool place, but I don't know how you unwind all of this.
You don't.
You don't really unwind it. Now, I mean.
Also, most people don't understand it. So
they don't
who's
understand
going to run it? Who's going to, where's all the money going to go? How you
it's hard to fight these people because that's the problem. It's like everyone kind of wants to be them. And then the people that don't want to be them, they will kill you. That's the problem. They will blackmail you. And if that doesn't work, they will kill you. This is the thing because they are the top of the food chain. And when you are at the top of the food chain, you're not going to give that power up without a tremendous fight. And I think that's really where a lot of it comes down to is they're preserving their position on the top of the hierarchy.
Imagine if the United States made a law where you couldn't buy real estate unless you're an American citizen. New York City apartment buildings would be a bloodbath.
But by the way, not only would it be a bloodbath there, it would be a bloodbath everywhere. And then people would look at their 401ks and go, the shit I'm invested in is tanked. That's the other problem. Because all of the stuff they're invested in is based on a lot of investments being made by those companies like BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street and Citadel or Goldman. So it's just
one of the creepiest things they're doing is buying residential homes and leasing them to people.
Yeah, because they don't want people to own their homes. They don't want people to have the power of home ownership or the dignity of home ownership.
Is that what it is, or is it's profitable to buy homes and lease them?
It's profitable because
that's why they're doing it. Do you really think there's like some insidious thing, like they don't want people to have homes? Like, really?
Yes, because I think they look at it and say Americans will be happy renting. I mean, that's the famous article. By 2030, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy.
Right, but that's just those WEF dorks.
Yeah, but those WEF dorks are incredibly powerful amongst the crew of people. They all get together. They all these conferences, whether they meet, and it's not like always nefarious, but they go to like Davos or Bilderberg or whatever. And this idea that that's the thing people talk about. Why should you preserve culture? Is it racist to preserve culture? And I don't mean the specific culture of any one race, but this idea that like you want to preserve culture. And people go, well, why is it good to preserve traditional culture? And because there will always be a culture. So if it's not Italian culture, Irish culture, Mexican culture, black culture, whatever it is, it's going to be soulless global corporate culture. That's why every hotel looks the same. That's why every fucking apartment looks the same. Because the same people are choosing the same fucking 10, shades of marble and shades of wood. And they're putting up all of these different condos and all of these office buildings. That's why all these cities are starting to look the same. Everything looks like a weird Airbnb. It looks like they 3D printed everything. That's why all these restaurants are starting to look the same, because it's soulless corporate culture. Americans, just like people all over the world, have less and less financial power, and more of it is being consolidated on the higher end. And they're going to say, you're going to rent your house. You're going to take Ubers everywhere. You don't need to own a car. You're going to take whatever vaccine we think is good. You'll drive your car on Thursday, or you'll be able to Uber on Thursdays because of climate. You're not going to be able to Uber whenever you want, or you won't be able to use this amount of water or this amount of heat or this amount of energy. And all of this are going to be edicts delivered to you from the government, but also by these corporate oligarchs that just own everything. And it's going to be a very bland and soulless world.
It'll be Times Square.
It'll be Times Square.
What Times Square used to be.
But somehow worse.
Versus what Times Square is, a giant Applebee's now.
That's right. It's a giant Applebee's. And it'll be that serene, cold, corporate feeling that you get now when you walk into like a St. Regis, and all these hotels are all owned by Marriott, the Ritz, or any of these hotels. And you walk into these hotels and it's all gray. It's all gray. And it all looks like a conference room. And everything, nothing's loud, and hello, and how are you? And no one can do anything. Oh, we're sorry about, we're not able to do that. We can't do that. And everybody's rule followed, everybody's cameras trained on everybody. Yeah. So God forbid somebody does anything. Like you try to tip people sometimes, they go, thank you, I can't. I mean, we're not allowed to. And you're just looped because everybody's terrified of losing their job. Everybody's terrified of upsetting these people. Everybody's on camera. And, it's like it sucks. The whole thing is turning into that. And I think as much as, there's a lot of conspiracies about the World Economic Forum and all that stuff. Some of them are probably based in reality. Some of them are just crackpots. But one thing that I think is very real is all of those people, those organizations, they exist to create a consensus amongst the wealthiest and powerful people that it is better to favor this set of policies over that one. And all of those policies inevitably take power and ownership away from people and reappropriate that and redistribute it to wealthier people, the government, and big corporations.
100%. Well said. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And those people, you don't know anybody like that. Like, you don't know anybody like Lindsey Graham. So you don't know the game they're playing.
Well, speak for yourself. I have a lot of friends. But and I'll be taken care of very well. No, I don't. No, you don't.
You know what I'm saying? You're not in that group.
You meet the kids of them sometimes, and they all believe they're doing the right thing. They think it's great. And I was in an environment where I met some of these Harvard kids and Yale kids, and they're all nice people. They're good people. They're fun people. But again, they have these beliefs.
Well, they're in a cult.
They're drilled into them since they're young. And this is the problem with the Democratic Party. It's maybe why they'll lose this election. Maybe they won't. Maybe they will. It's condescension. And they're condescending. and they're dismissive of people. And it's a kind of elitism that seeks to convince you that it is for your own good that they are in charge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they're your mama. They're your dad.
They know better than you.
Yeah. And that's the thing when they talk about misinformation and disinformation. Don't you know? You know the difference, right? If you know the difference, why do you assume other people won't know it?
That's right.
Like, you want to say that other people are stupid and they're not capable of making these decisions or discerning what's true and what's false by themselves. So you want to eliminate anything that you disagree with and just call it misinformation.
Yeah. And not only that, but it's to demonize people, the demonization of podcasts, the demonization of people that, are willing to have conversations with people they disagree with. It's all done to discredit anything that runs counter to that narrative. It's the same reason they don't want people to have social engagements that have any value, or a lot of times the reason that if somebody says something mildly pro-family, they flip the fuck out.
Yeah.
Because they don't want people to have a strong community with a family or a social arrangement that's fulfilling to them where they aren't dependent on not only services from the government, but also they're not dependent on the government to tell them what is valuable and meaningful in life.
Right.
And if the government tells you that it is meaningful and valuable in life to support the things that they support, and you internalize that, then you're just going to be led around by people and you'll be doing the things they want you to do. And that's why they get very threatened when people say things that are even mildly suggest that people are happy having children or, whatever the case may be. They flip out and they go, well, you can't tell me what to do. And it's like, nobody's telling you what to do, but the idea that, people having families is controversial, or saying that it's a fulfilling way to live, or to me, it's very strange when people kind of prey on your loneliness and they prey on your vulnerability to shove a bunch of stuff down your throat that would be harder to sell you if you had a family and or a business,
right,
or a house, or a stake in your community. I don't think they want you to have a stake in any of those things.
Right. And so logically, as they achieve more power, they will have to get people to go along with these things.
That's right.
And the way they do that is through forming these narratives.
They have
now,
to.
The counter to these narratives is the popularity of podcasts. Because the narratives, like if they only had the mainstream media, they would be so much further ahead.
That's right.
Imagine if there was never anything on the internet other than websites and email. Nobody ever figured out social media.
Yeah.
So nobody ever figured out
we'd
you could
have
put up a news
boots
story
on the ground in the Ukraine right now. I'm not even kidding.
We probably would.
If there was just the mainstream media, we would have boots on the ground in the Ukraine currently.
Jesus Christ.
1,000%. I'm telling you, I'm as sure of anything as that fact.
Tell me it wasn't one of the wildest things in the campaign when Dick Cheney endorsed Kamala Harris and the left was like, yay.
It proves that it is now a raw power grab and that no one cares about anything.
Right.
And, I've lived long enough now to see the left admonish the CIA and the FBI and now cheerlead for the CIA and the FBI. I mean, in 2003, you would see seething op-eds about the power of Dick Cheney, Halliburton, the military, the defense contractors, Iraq, the quagmire. Remember that word that no one uses anymore to describe a foreign entanglement thing? All of those people that supported the Iraq war all reinvented themselves as Democrats and now have jobs at MSNBC. Some of them have jobs in the Biden administration. Some of them have jobs in center-right or center-left think tanks in Washington, D.C. And all of those people, they cared. Dick Cheney has a lot more in common with a lot of the people that are running the Democratic Party, obviously, than he does with their voters. Their voters loathe Dick Cheney. The people who run that party don't hate him as much as you'd think.
Yeah. That's a scary thought.
Very.
Right? Did you see Liz Cheney on The View and Whoopi Goldberg? What was she saying? She should be the head of the CIA?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's
Is
hilarious.
that what she said?
Can you imagine?
She said something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? I thought you guys didn't like that stuff. I thought you guys were the anti-Iraq war people. I thought you guys were the anti-weapons of mass destruction people. Liz Cheney for Kamala Harris is Attorney General. Attorney General. Wow. Whoopi Goldberg begs for it. That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, this is a weaponization of the justice system. It's crazy.
It's the whole thing is so weird to see people abandon what it used to be a leftist.
Right.
It used to be uncomfortable discussions are good. It's good to be able to have communication with people that you disagree with. Free speech is imperative.
Right.
It used to be that education should be objective, and it's very important. And you counter bad ideas with good ideas.
Well, it just became untenable, I think. I think leftism was driven out of the sphere.
Well, it just went far left, it became a different thing.
Yeah, but it became left in a way that wasn't about workers' rights or economic justice. It became left in a way about like aesthetic identity politics that prevented any discussions about CEO pay or health care or anything like that. It just became, and I think they're really enthusiastic people about that ideology. Things are pretty good.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of people where things are good enough in their lives to worry about whether we have a trans Batman.
100%.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I think a lot of the enthusiastic proponents of that stuff believe things are great and they're only getting better.
Yeah.
And to sell a campaign, and listen, she may win, it's early in the day, but to sell a campaign on the word joy is utterly insane.
It's also kind of a revenge of the nerds thing too, because it's a complete polar shift of identity hierarchies.
Yeah,
you know, the people that were like the weirdos and the freaks, the trans people, and all of a sudden those people are at the top of this hierarchy of oppression, and celebrated above all.
Yeah, but it's also
where
I think
it used to be those are the ones that are cast out of society.
But it's also like this idea that you need to keep identifying ways to divide people.
Right.
And there's no better way to do it than to claim that everybody threatens everyone else.
I agree with you, but here's a question.
Yeah.
Is this a natural thing? Is this like a natural thing that humans do when they find a vulnerability in a social system? They attach themselves to it, whether it's white guys pretending to be black, a couple of those.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of situations? Like there seems to be people attach themselves to something and then they sort of subvert it. But do you think it would have existed anyway? Do you think that someone has a vested interest in keeping us divided, and so that these social issues, like whatever it is that comes up, like whether it's BLM, like any kind of social movement that creates disruption, do you think that those are engineered and those are injected into the system to make people have things to fight over?
I think there's a balance. I think that there's organic rifts and fissures in society that allow certain sentiments to bubble to the surface, like BLM, like the war in Gaza and the problems and the protests that are happening there. But the minute that stuff happens, I believe people seize on the opportunity and exploit it and fund those things and bust people into those protests and exacerbate that moment because it is, I think, a defining, when Rahm Emanuel said, never let a good crisis go to waste. You know what I mean?
That's such a crazy thing to say out
loud. When he said, never let a good crisis go to waste, they are telling you, it's like when Lindsey Graham says, I want that money. Like, give me that money. I don't want Putin having that money. When they're saying it in front of your face. When Rahm Emanuel says, never let a good crisis go to waste, the whole ethos of that statement is to seize on organic problems and exacerbate them and then inject whatever agenda you have so that, you can then wrestle more power away from human beings.
100%. 100%. That's well said.
It's like, it's crazy to watch because when I grew up in the 90s. It was a time of like Doc Martens and fucking people drinking fishbowl-sized cappuccinos and fucking coffee houses and fucking everybody was weird. And there was a individualism in the 90s, Kurt Cobain and fucking people in Seattle just killing themselves and making great music and rap
Flannel.
and all this shit and flannel. And you remember it and fucking, but there was an individualism in the 90s that was kind of like, I remember, my parents saying to me once, like a friend of mine did something stupid and they go, well, if you jumped off a bridge, are you going to do it? It's like, there was just this idea that you didn't have to go along with everybody else. Standing apart from the crowd made you unique and an individual and good, and it meant that you had value.
Yeah, Nirvana killed hair bands because of that.
Yeah.
Hair bands became silly.
Right. There's no idea that I've seen attacked more than that. Being a free-thinking individual is coming under fire and has over the last few decades like I've never seen. The coordinated attempt to make you think not only do you have to agree with everyone that you're responsible for everybody, that what's good for you is good for them, or what's good for them is good for you, and that we're all in it together, and all of these things, and none of it is from a place of like, let's feed the poor. None of it's from a place of like, let's help. All of it's from a very weird, nefarious place of like, we move as a block. We are one consciousness. And again, not in the Bill Hicks good way, in the way of like, we're going to condemn the people we dislike. We're going to expel them and cast them out. And then we're going to reward the people who will come along with us. Because again, we are this, blob of shit that is just picking people up as we go. But I miss those days of kind of being like, yeah, man, who cares? Like, you think one way, I think another way, and it's not the end of the world. Now it's the end of the world.
There was less influences. You think about the influences, like I grew up I was in high school in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
So in the 80s, what we had was whatever was on the radio,
right?
Whatever was on MTV when that came out. It was like, oh my God, MTV.
Yeah.
And what you saw on television at night, when you usually were watching TV with your family after dinner or something. Like you have very little access to the rest of the world. And now you're inundated constantly 24/7. And there's a bunch of people that you wish you were. Bunch of people that you wish you were. I wish I looked like her. I wish I was tall as him. I wish I had the money that she has. Look at that car he's got. It's the same shit, and everybody gets locked into this fucking weird
voyeurism.
Voyeurism, narcissism beyond. It's probably more like habitual narcissists today than probably ever before.
How many people that cannot afford houses are watching people buy mansions on TV? There's 20 shows about people buying houses.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's
famous
real estate channels on Instagram that are just showing you houses you could never fucking afford,
and half of them suck anyway if you saw them in person, just like the people on Instagram. But like this weird voyeuristic thing, again, it's part of the flattening of everybody with technology, where individualism has been likened to being heartless or soulless or uncaring. And that you are not invested in the welfare and well-being of others, which is not true, by the way. Thinking freely does not mean you don't care about people. It means you're not going to swallow narratives that the Defense Department has handed to MSNBC. That doesn't mean you want people to live in the street.
Exactly.
But this is, people just don't like that idea. We're just a collectivist mindset now. We're like people... You have to be on the same page with everybody.
Well, I think it's inevitable, and I think it's moving us towards a very uncomfortable reality that most people are not willing to even look at. But we're becoming a different species. We're becoming a different thing.
That's interesting. I think that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the side effects of plastics and all the hormonal effects that people are having because of this, all the phthalates in people's bloodstreams. I think it's a effect of staring at screens all the time, becoming accustomed to staring at screens, preferring interactions online to people in person because they make you anxious.
Well, that's why people, that's such a great point. People now talk about all the time, like, why doesn't anything feel the same?
Right.
No city feels the way it did 5 years ago. And I think one of the reasons is because we live so much of our life now digitally.
There's that, but then there's the veil of a controlled society that completely collapsed during COVID.
That's right.
The veil of there's someone who understands how the system works and they're running it efficiently. That's why the subway's on time. That's why the streets are clean. It's because someone's running it and they're doing a good job. And then all of a sudden something happens and these people tell you everything has to shut down for a year and a half in LA. And you're like, what are you talking about? Like why are we poor now? Why is everybody broke? Why is it dangerous? Why are cars on fire? Why are they smashing into these stores and no one's doing anything about it? Like the veil got completely removed. So LA seems vulnerable now. Like when I go through LA, it seems vulnerable. It seems like a beaten kid. Like there's something about it.
There's real dark. There was always a darkness there. Now I spend so much less time there because there's just this foreboding, hellish reality that just, I don't know what it is, but it's like everyone's on edge.
It's a dissolving of an illusion.
It's dissolving of an illusion.
The illusion is a sophisticated, functional society.
Well, it was also a place that, think about this, Los Angeles was built on the manufacturing reality.
Yes.
For a long time.
Yes. Yes.
And the ability to do that now has been greatly diminished. And the magic of the movies and this idea that you can fully suspend disbelief and all these things, I think a lot of that has had a real impact on that place because the inability, you know, they used to be able to make a movie that would convince you about an event. They would drive home a narrative through a movie. They've done this a million times.
Yeah.
Now, by the time they do that, there's 10 documentaries on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's been a million podcasts. There's been So they've lost control, and Hollywood was really this myth-making institution that, and it was all built on and listen, they made a lot of great stuff, a lot of movies we all love, but a lot of it was built on like the exploitation of women, of children, all these horrible things that have now been unearthed.
Right.
Every documentary is crazy to watch now. It's like, remember that 90s show you watched? And you go, Jesus, no. And they're like, those kids were kept in a cage and fed like dogs. You're like, God damn it. Like, nothing you enjoy.
Like the Nickelodeon stuff.
It's
bananas.
crazy.
It's bananas.
You know?
But it makes sense.
It
right?
makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you have vulnerable people without a lot. There's nobody who cares about people in that town.
Right.
And the only people that have credibility in that town are people that have made other people a lot of money.
Right.
And those are the people that were able to get away with it and do whatever the hell they wanted. So that town's just in deep trouble.
Well, it's just dark.
It's dark.
It's darker now also. And one of the things that happened during COVID was when you shut down production for a year and a half and then no one goes to the movies for a year and a half.
Habit is broken.
Habit's broken.
Habit's broken.
Date nights not go to the movies anymore.
I was in Joker 2, which just came out. It's the worst film that has ever been made.
So bad.
It's the worst film it's actually not so bad. It's the worst film ever made.
Why?
Well,
do you think they did it on purpose?
No. I think what happened after the first Joker was there was a lot of like talk like, ooh, this was loved by incels. This was loved by the wrong kinds of people, and this sent the wrong kinds of male rage, nihilism, you know, all these think pieces.
Right.
And then I think, what if we went the other way, and now they have Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga tap dancing to a point where it's insane.
But is it possible that he didn't want to make a sequel? And then he said,
no,
all right,
I know
I'll make a
Tarantino
sequel.
said that. I mean, it's a quarter billion they did that with. If that's true, it's the most immoral thing I've ever seen in my life.
Or brilliant protest.
I don't think it's a brilliant protest.
Wouldn't it be fun, though?
I don't know. It's wasted everybody's time. Just make a good movie. You could have done it, you know? Just get out the fun. Stop dancing.
What do you think? What would motivate them to make a movie that's that far
because
the
they
other way?
wanted, because it's hubris, number one. The idea that you could... that people love it so much, they're going to accept it in any version of it.
Do you think you would like it if it wasn't connected to the original Joker?
No, it has no plot. It has no plot. We would sit there, me and these other guys who were all dressed in these fucking security outfits because we're working at the Arkham Asylum, and I would turn to one of them and we'd hear this crap, and I'd go, "What the fuck is this?" And they go, "This is going to bomb, man." I go, this is the worst thing I've ever... We would talk about it at lunch. We go, what is the plot? Is there a plot? They go, I don't know. I think he falls in love with her in the prison.
Is it worth going to see because it's bad?
It's not even hate watchable. That's how terrible it is.
But is it one of those things like Showgirls?
No.
Where it's so bad you could watch it?
No, because it's like you're sitting there and there's these people, you know, in the theater and they're all confused and I'm watching their reactions and they're all like staring and everything. And like it starts like, oh, it's raining and it's Arkham Asylum. And you're like, okay, cool. And then there's a moment where Joaquin Phoenix just goes, for once in my life, I have someone who needs me. And they just, and he
just breaks into a musical?
He just becomes a fucking musical.
But hold on. Let me back this up.
Yeah.
Let me back this up. Don't you remember when Joaquin Phoenix went on Letterman?
Yes.
And he had like this.
Yes.
He had some crazy fake persona.
Yes.
Like he did something where he pretended to lose his mind.
Yes. A rapper or something.
Right.
Yes.
What was he doing?
I don't know. He was like,
what did he do for a while, Jamie?
Yeah, he did
So
this. This
he
is
played a
better than
character.
Joker.
Yeah, he was going to pursue a music career. This was 2009.
You've got a nice beard going, and
oh yeah, thank you.
How is that, the beard?
In what way?
Well, is it comfortable? Is it itchy? Is it? Are you pleased with it?
I'm okay with it, but now you're making me feel weird about it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a long interview, but
That's okay, man. Letterman was a wizard at interviewing.
He was great.
He was so good. He's the best, in my opinion, of those guys of all time.
1,000%.
He's just so good at.
It's a lovely film, really.
No, go back before that because he's wrapping it up. So, but Joaquin Phoenix was acting weird, and so people decided, oh, Joaquin Phoenix has lost his mind.
Right.
They didn't like the interview, and then kind of people went cool on him.
Right.
And then he did like a documentary showing that he was like playing a character for a while.
Right.
Is that what he was doing? Like,
I think so, yes.
so it was just like an art piece he was doing?
This could have been a $250 million practical joke.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe
This is the same guy.
Yeah, maybe it's a fun $250 million practical joke. It's a bit.
If you're Joaquin Phoenix, you're the fucking king of the hill, right? You're like one of the biggest movie stars in the country. You're the guy from Gladiator,
Sure.
right? Like he can kind of trick Hollywood dummies.
I think they thought that this would be received differently. I think they thought. I think they're maybe in a little bit of a bubble.
Well, I think Joaquin Phoenix is alone in his house right now, laughing that he pulled that off.
I don't think he even knows he did it.
But
He's
it's the
like
same guy that did this thing.
I know. He's
you
like.
think he's crazy?
I think he's an actor, so I don't think he exists. I think it's just like what the new part is. He becomes that.
Joaquin Phoenix tells Letterman, "I hope spoof didn't offend you." Actor apologized to the Late Show host for awkward interview that features in new film I'm Still Here. So he was doing that as a part of the film. That's the idea. So the film is that he was acting like he was a crazy person?
Yeah, it was like a documentary about him making music.
All they had to do here, all they had to do was blow some shit up, have him escape from prison, have him do something, get a couple of scenes in the courthouse or something.
Look at what it says here. It says throughout, Phoenix was trailed by actor Casey Affleck, who is his brother-in-law, and a film crew. The result, I'm Still Here, was released this month as an ostensible documentary about the corrosive effects of celebrity and wealth on a now drug-addled actor in the profession since he was a child. So the idea is that they did a documentary on how fucked up he was, and so he went on Letterman to act fucked up.
Right.
But I think it was a goof.
Yeah. No, it was a goof.
Right? Okay,
but he was
elaborate
also,
spoof. It was all an elaborate. Okay, it was Affleck who confirmed what many suspected, that it was all an elaborate spoof last week, telling New York Times that Phoenix had given a terrific performance. It's the performance of his career. So he just acted like he was drugged out and out of his fucking mind for a spoof.
Yeah.
Like, this is the kind of guy that would trick those Hollywood dumbasses into making a musical sequel to the Joker.
If he did that, then that's great. I don't know. I know that he was raised in a cult when he was a little kid, and his name was Leaf. So whatever he does, God bless him. He's a brilliant actor.
He changed it from Leaf to Joaquin.
Yeah,
it's like we're going the other way.
The guy's brilliant, but the movie was just, God, was it rough.
It's crazy because the first one was so good. He was so believable
The
as a
first one was
completely
really
insane person.
great, and then the second one just went. And if you were a fan of the first one, the second one was like kind of, I think, insane to a fan of the first one.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
You know.
It would be like if Godfather 2 was about like the Corleone family going legit. You know what I mean?
Right. No more
like
murder.
and apologizing for the mafia.
Right.
They were like, hey, I'm sorry we did all this shit.
Yeah.
We now have a bakery. It went completely the other way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I didn't see it, but I heard it sucked. So
Anything? Has anyone won? Get
Still
something.
got 1 minute before the first polls close.
Oh.
1 minute.
Yeah, 5 just now. I mean, so I don't know.
But Jimmy, I
That's
think
what I
there's
reported.
definitely got to be some.
I'm waiting. I'm checking every
There's
website
definitely
to get
stuff.
someone to
Aren't
say
there like
something.
exit polls and all that
There's
stuff?
gotta be.
That's what we're waiting for.
I mean,
There's only like 3 or 4 states that close then.
North Carolina is early, right?
The only discussions I can see is what's going on in Pennsylvania, what's going on in Philadelphia.
So what's going on there?
I don't know. Trump said that there's some cheating going on.
Well,
I've asked
he's certainly going to say that. If there is, then
they
there
don't know
is.
what he's talking about yet.
When he was on the podcast, I wish he could just rattle off.
I'm open to it too. Just tell me what it is.
Tell
I
me
feel
what it
you.
is.
I hear you. It's
He's like, there's so much evidence, so much evidence. We have so much evidence of cheating. Like,
but a lot of people close to him say there isn't.
who's those people? How many of those people are covering their ass?
I don't know, but Mike Pence probably.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Like that guy.
Is he covering his ass?
Yeah, he just endorsed Kamala Harris too. Yeah, they wanted to kill him. There was people that went to on January 6th. They were looking for him, allegedly and supposedly.
No, for sure. But I'm wondering, like, I'm open to the idea that there was fraud, but like a lot of top people, like people that were in his orbit, don't talk about. Like he talks about it,
right? But okay, so let's take Pence out of the equation because he's probably salty. They're probably
for sure. But I'm saying like Pence didn't. If there was evidence, wouldn't he, like Pence, have said, all right, let's not certify it?
No.
Okay.
That is a crazy thing to do.
Right, okay.
For vice president to stand up and say, I mean, that's essentially like you're getting ready for a fucking major conflict.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Don't you think? Like
No, for sure. We just need someone.
That guy doesn't want that kind of heat. That's not Trump.
For sure. We need someone outside of Trump to verify it.
Yeah, who would that be that you would trust implicitly?
Well, you would just need to see evidence. It would just be like if I made a claim about anything, I'd have to provide evidence.
But let's imagine that you were working with someone like Trump, and you're like a top guy, and you know there's no election interference. You know that the election integrity was 100%. You know that he's not telling the truth.
Yeah.
How could you stay with him? How could you stay with him without laying it out to him? Like, sir, can I just have an hour of your time?
Well, I think
Let me explain to you what the problem with saying that it's rigged. Here's where you can say it's rigged. Okay, for sure. There was 100% involvement in social media companies suppressing information that would have changed the results.
For sure.
At least in some percentage in one way or the other.
Yeah, and I'm open to it being that there was fuckery in other ways. I just think that just like anything else, you can't take someone's word.
Well, he says there's a bunch. He just didn't have it on
Sure,
hand.
yeah.
But I would imagine that if there's something you've been talking about for 3 years. Like if you asked me, important stuff in my even stuff like if you asked me about like jujitsu.
Right.
I could tell you all these different things that have happened.
Yeah.
I could tell you why this is important and why that's not important.
Yeah.
And that's like a minor thing relatively to you lost the president of the United States. That's a
Right.
major thing. And so if you knew that you had been cheated to the point where you're willing to talk openly about the fact that they cheated me, this is how I know. I would want to be able to rattle off.
Yes, he should.
I would want to be able to say, we found there was 25,000
Yes.
inconsistent votes in this place. We know that there was manipulation of this thing or that thing. Tell me.
Yeah.
You should have that ready to go.
Sure.
Ready to go.
I agree.
That's it's a thing that we don't want to think is true, but if we're going to put our fucking necks out there and agree with it, or at least entertain it,
You have to have those
got to have it laid out.
bullet points.
Yes, you
Bullet
got to have
points.
it laid out. But I think he's just so fucking busy. He's probably got other people doing that, and they're all telling him that it's stolen,
Yeah.
and he just listens to them and doesn't have that stuff like ready to go.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, Steve Bannon brought up an interesting point the other night on Megyn Kelly, where he said they had lost by a certain amount of votes, or Biden had gotten however many more votes than Obama, whatever. But also the Republicans picked up like a ton of House seats, which he goes, there's something fishy about that where it's like all these people are just voting Republican down and then Biden. So there were things, and again, I'm not talking about the veracity of it. I'm just saying
there's some suspicious.
There were some suspicious things that he felt was fishy or tricky or whatever. Now I don't know. Again, this has been a thing that's been over the heads of, whereas you have people on the right that go, it was stolen and don't know any of the evidence.
Right.
Then there are people on the left that go, he's an election denier, which they also did with the Russiagate stuff for years.
Right.
Said that he was installed and compromised or whatever. And then I think there's just got to be, like you said, there's got to be more information about whatever happened.
Right. Well, the idea of breaking into voting machines goes way back to the HBO documentary Hacking Democracy about George Bush. Remember that?
Right.
About the Diebold machines.
That's right.
And the fear, and this is back when I was a hardcore lefty, the fear was that the Republicans were going to be able to rig the vote with these machines.
Right.
Because the people who made those machines were contributors to the Republican Party.
Right.
Now it's the other way. Now the right is constantly worried about Dominion.
Well, they won that lawsuit. Dominion won that lawsuit.
Right. Against Fox News, correct?
Against Fox.
Because Fox was saying things that it didn't have evidence
How's
for,
the best
right?
way to do it? Is it paper ballots, voter ID?
Right.
You have to have an ID.
Well, I would imagine, first of all, of course you should have to have an ID. The only reason why you wouldn't want someone to have an ID is because you want to cheat. You have to have an ID for everything. You got to get a fucking membership at Costco. Why not?
Let's do that, because maybe you lose your ID that day, but maybe you can go in and say, here's my finger.
Why not? Why not? I mean,
some biometric thing.
Yeah, biometric could be easy. It could be something
Easy.
you register for on your cell phone. They always have your face now.
That's
you
right.
can just show up. That's not hard to do in this day and age. But the idea that you wouldn't want anyone to have ID, that means you want people voting that shouldn't be voting, and we know that happens.
Yeah.
That's been proven that at least in certain circumstances, people are voting that shouldn't be voting. And the only reason why you would want that is because you want to cheat. So the only reason why you would want no ID is so that you could cheat.
Yeah.
So now I got to go, how much do you cheat? So you're willing to cheat in that way. You're willing to cheat where you're willing to block information that would have changed the vote.
They've always been willing to do that. I think
you're willing to cheat where you tell people they don't have to have ID.
They've always been willing to do that. And then the right has been willing to do things too that compromise the integrity of things, for sure.
100%.
And you just got to figure out how to do like an actual election that is fair.
It's AI.
And it's
going to be President AI.
Yeah. Well,
I think we're going to give up government to artificial intelligence once it's vastly superior to us.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense, but I think it's on our path. What we're talking about before, about people becoming more frail and more like feeble, and like the British people, when you're talking about their teeth, you know what that's from? It's from your jaw.
That's not all British people. Don't get mad at me.
When people have small jaws, like in your you see, like,
they all have scurvy.
It's literally from eating mushy food
because they
eat
mushy peas and they have scurvy.
Your bones aren't as thick anymore because you're not chewing meat. You're not breaking things down with your teeth. You don't have to crack. So your jaw, like over time, becomes smaller and smaller.
Interesting.
There's actually a technique called mewing. And this guy figured out this technique where you can change the shape of your jaw with exercises and tongue pressure. And that there's other guys that I have a thing that I use at home. It's like I weightlift with my jaw. It sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But there's these weights. It's like a rubber ball, and you put it in your teeth, and you fucking mash down on your teeth.
Interesting.
And it builds your jaw muscles, and it makes your jaw more square. Like literally works. You do jaw exercises. And that's the reason why these people for a long time were eating mashed potatoes and fucking gruel. Like they're poor as shit.
Right.
Well, their jaws all shrunk.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's a good theory. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you would need, like that's one of the reasons why people have to get their wisdom teeth removed. Our jaws are getting smaller. We're not like breaking down tough meat anymore. Yeah. So the shape of our face looks different.
So eventually there's just going to be a bunch of AI government.
We're going to slim
instead
down,
of these
son.
tiny jawed bitches in there.
You look at aliens, right? You look at the aliens. They always have the little tiny jaws.
Yeah.
Big ass fucking head. That's
so
us,
the next
dude.
10 years are just going to be unreal.
We're going to be those things. I think those things that we see, that people keep seeing, even if they're not real.
We become them.
That's us in the future.
The Greys.
Yeah. With
become them.
sexless, genderless cyborgs.
Right.
Or maybe even completely artificial by that point. Maybe we realize that consciousness can actually be captured and that we all share it and there's no benefit whatsoever in being an individual. That it's just a cheat code that the primate used in order to think of itself as important enough to continue to innovate to the point where it creates artificial intelligence.
Now, if she had run on that instead of the word joy, I would have voted for her.
I think that's where we're going. I think that's what all this gender shit is.
Yeah.
I think that's why male hormone levels are dropping through the floor, which is all a big part because of sedentary lifestyle and also because of these estrogens and plastics and all these different things that are fucking with people's reproductive cycles.
Do you think we've been here before?
In what way?
In this, do you think humanity's ever been in this spot before?
I think humanity's been in a different but similar spot.
Okay.
I think that's what ancient Egypt was all about. There's no way that level of sophistication could be achieved unless those people were beyond what anybody is thinking about from people that lived 5,000, 6,000 years ago. There's just no way. There's literally no way. Because
does God figure into this at all?
Well, of course.
I don't know.
If God's real, God's everything.
Right.
If God's real, God's the universe. And there's like a powerful creative force that didn't just made Earth and a bunch of stupid people that were in a garden and this bitch talked to the snake and ate an apple.
Right.
No, God made the whole thing. If there's a real God, he made the whole thing. And the whole thing is made by what? It's made by the universe.
Right.
The universe makes itself, right? So the universe is probably God. So yeah, God plays into it. But I think there's a direction that primates go in, and it goes into like ever more weak and feeble, but much more capable with tools. And it happens with some like bonobos. They're super peaceful. They just fuck each other. Somehow or another, there's chimpanzees that are murderous monsters that just run around tearing each other apart, killing each other, tribal wars, killing monkeys. And then there's the other ones that just fuck each other all the time.
Chill.
Yeah, like, what is that? Like, there's just like, that seems like they're a little bit more evolved.
Right.
And that's probably how humans were. And then humans eventually figured out tools and and we became what we are now. Well, we're going to keep going in that direction. So we're so much weaker than even a monkey. You're like, a monkey will tear your fucking head off. Like, we're so feeble, and we're going to get feebler. It's going to be to the point,
smarter.
Way smarter.
Yeah.
We're going to be communicating completely with our minds. We'll probably never need sounds anymore. We'll probably never use devices. Everything will happen in your mind.
What's the fun of all of that?
What's the fun of being a chimp? Is that fun? You want to throw shit for the rest of your life and eat bananas? Get the fuck out of here. I want to drive a Cadillac. I want to watch a fucking movie.
Yeah, but
I want to call people on my phone that are nowhere near me.
I
right?
know,
So
yeah.
what's the purpose in being a person? You're filled with anxiety. You're worried about who's going to win the election.
Good point.
You're trying to stay off drugs, but you want a cigarette.
Right.
What's the point? What's the point in that stupidity when you can be an enlightened being that flies through space with your mind?
Ooh. Well, I never thought about it like that.
If Lazar's telling the truth, Bob Lazar, the guy that supposedly back-engineered these crafts, if that guy's telling the truth, he said there was no controls inside those devices. When
They're powering them with their mind.
There's some connection between the entity and the device that's not an interface like we think of, like a joystick and buttons
so they're
you
just
push.
so evolved, it's a different thing.
It's a different thing, but it's
just
probably
a different thing.
It's probably what we become because we didn't always have clothes.
Well, of course.
Think about clothes and shoes and your silly sunglasses
Yeah.
and all this stuff.
Well, they're
this
not
is
silly.
All, they're beautiful.
I'm kidding.
They're silly because
I
I don't
know,
have
of
them.
course.
When I have them, I'll call you
Yeah,
up.
they're
I'll go, dude, look.
But you're right. We're advanced.
We're advanced. So we're so much different than chimps.
It's the
If
Bill
you look
Hicks
at
line,
chimps,
evolution didn't end with thumbs.
it's our distant cousin. But if you look at them and you look at us, like, what is going on with them? Why do they have to have clothes? Like, what is, they're wearing coats and jackets and shit. They
Right.
all have shoes. No one walks barefoot at all.
Right.
Like, we're softening ourselves up.
Right.
We're like literally putting a nice shell over ourselves so we become a squid. Like some
So you think if you
gelatinous
come back
form.
to this planet in 50 years, if it's still here,
Robots. I think no more biological life in terms of humans. Wildlife will exist. All that stuff will exist. No more people. I think
Really?
I think people are the cocoon. We make the electronic butterfly. It comes out of the cocoon. We don't know why we're making the cocoon, but we're making the cocoon. Everybody gets the newest phone. Everybody has the newest TV. Look, it's got Wi-Fi built in.
So do you get a skin suit?
You're not even going to be biological. I think we're going to give up.
Are we going to be able to?
This is what I think they're going to do. Yeah. I think they're going to integrate first. I think we're going to be cyborgs. It's going to start with things like Neuralink.
Can I get that now?
You can get it.
Can I sign up for it now? I don't want to wait.
But you don't want to be an early adopter. Like those girls who got those lip jobs.
I'll take the chance. Many of them are in Miami. They're fine, these whores. I will take the thing now. It just sounds fun. It sounds good. I want to be in a vehicle without communicating with my mind.
So there was a guy who branched off. He was one of the original guys with Neuralink. He branched off to form his own company, and they just created an implant that allows blind people to see.
Amazing.
So see if you can find that, Jamie. I think it is like you wear goggles. I think it's like there's a whole thing. I don't think it's like as simple as they put it in your head. But again, cell phone used to be a suitcase that you carried around.
Yeah.
And you had to like open the suitcase to get your phone out and pull the antenna out. Now it's this little tiny thing that you can be on for 24 hours in a row.
Yeah.
Watch movies and
But
call
this
each
is
other.
eventually going to be inside of us. Yeah, and then
inside of us.
That's a good point because then you go the next step.
We had the first Neuralink patient on.
Interesting.
And he controls a cursor with his mind. And he said when he plays games, it's like a cheat because he's got like an aimbot. So everywhere he sees is where the cursor goes. He doesn't have to go hand to eye. Eye goes to cursor instantaneously. So he's like, I don't miss. I just, like you look at where you want something to go and it just goes there.
That's
amazing. And he's
amazing.
controlling it with his mind.
So there's going to be, over the next however many years, different generations. You know, it's just like iPhones.
Yes, for sure. Science Corporation. Imagine that's your name, Science Corporation. How uncreative. Is this the Chinese front? Science Corporation? That sounds like a fake
Science
name.
Corporation.
A biotech startup launched by a Neuralink co-founder claims it has achieved a breakthrough in brain-computer interface technology that can help patients with severe vision loss. In preliminary clinical trials, legally blind patients who lost their central vision received the company's retina implants, which restored their eyesight and even allowed them to read books and recognize faces, the startup announced last week. Whoa. To
That's
my knowledge,
crazy.
it's the first time that the restoration of the ability to fluently read has ever been definitively shown in blind patients. CEO Max Hodak, who's the president of Neuralink before founding Science Corp, said in a statement. Holy shit. What does it look like, Jamie? Does it show what it looks like? I want to see what it looks like. Sounds crazy. Science Corporation. Good luck finding that on Google. What are you going to find? Oh, it's in the first one. Prima. All right, what does it look like? So this is the implants? Where is it? So where does it go? Oh, look, they're showing you. So they stick it back there, the back of your fucking eyeball. Look how tiny it is. Holy shit, man.
I love how, by the way, it's just Americans are like, look, you'll be able to see the oven.
So he has to wear glasses. And the glasses work with that implant, and now he can see things. This is crazy.
It's amazing.
It's set for people who lost their vision, right?
Mhm.
You have to already have some sort of, they couldn't like.
You got to have some vision.
Yeah, you have to know a basis of.
Well, I don't know
what
that.
things look like.
Are you
what I'm getting-
sure?
how could you recognize someone's face if you never saw it before?
Well, you wouldn't until you saw them, and then from then on, you'd be able to recognize their face.
These political texts are so crazy. They're still coming in.
What are you getting? Oh,
this
telling
woman-
you where to go?
This woman had my phone named Janina, and I guess she was a big Democratic donor, or not. You know, because they're like, Janina, we're panicked. Can you please answer? Have you voted? I'm like,
We're panicked.
Right. I go, I don't know what to do. Janina.
Are you going with it? You fucking with her?
No, because it's just a bot. This is what we're talking about. It's all
Yeah.
AI. It's just bots going like, please vote.
I'm panicked.
Yes or no?
How crazy
Are
is
you
that?
a Republican?
75,000 votes counted so far.
Only?
Who won?
Who won out of 75,000?
I mean, I don't even know where they're from. It's 49,000 for Trump, 24,000 for Harris.
So even. Now,
What is your
CNN would
what
say
is your
he-
suspicion of what's going to happen? What's your
I
suspicion?
thought it was, I think it will be him, but I also thought that it's very close. And I think with Roe, that was the one X factor.
100%.
That was the only X factor I had thought about. I think without that,
Not just Roe, but that thing that I brought up with J.D. Vance, which some people believe
Yeah.
is true. And apparently there might have been a case in Texas, Jamie. I know you're Googling, but where we were talking about women in a place where it's restrictive. Like Texas has a 6-week law, which is
Right.
crazy because you don't even know you're pregnant in 6 weeks. You barely missed your period, right?
It's crazy.
Especially if your period's like not regular. And then if you go to another state where abortion is legal and they find out, they can prosecute you.
right. So that's the type of stuff I think that she could win on that.
Right.
Because that is crazy.
Well, it's not just crazy. It's gross. Because
gross.
Here's why it's gross. Not just because you shouldn't be able to tell people where the fuck to go and where they can go and do things that it's a legal medical
sure.
procedure. But imagine if you're a woman who gets pregnant and you have a miscarriage, and you go and visit your mom who lives in Oklahoma where
Right.
abortion's legal, and then you get questioned as to whether or not you had an illegal
insane.
abortion. You get Can you imagine? Like,
no, it's crazy.
You
So
lose your kid and you're fucking heartbroken.
That's
and
the
then,
one thing where I could see a groundswell of women coming up for her, and she could win.
Yeah, because that's
for sure.
The idea of that is attached to these apps, right? So there's apps that women can use that track their ovulation, right? So they track their menstrual cycles through these apps, and if they get the data from these apps, and the apps show that you lost your period or you didn't have your menstrual cycle, and then you went to Oklahoma, it doesn't mean anything. But are we going to let people investigate people's bodies?
No, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's insane.
It's crazy.
And that's the worst direction it could head, because they
Right.
made one headway, Roe versus Wade. They got rid of it, so now it's up to the states. Well, that makes it sketchy. And now if the states are going to prosecute people for traveling to other states, well, then now you're saying the state is in control of your body?
No, that's crazy.
Your ability to go somewhere in America,
What did
whether or not you
JD
agree
say
with it
to
or don't
that?
agree with it. He said he wasn't aware of that, and we wouldn't want to do that.
Right.
But I think that this is a thing that was brought up. See if you can find that in Texas.
So the case I found in Texas, I don't think it had to do with out-of-state abortion. I might be wrong, but
it had to do with in-state abortion.
You know,
So she
Europe
handled her
handles
own
this all
abortion.
kind of well. It's one of the things they do. They just have like whatever their rule is, and everyone's okay with it. And it's
Well,
just
the thing
not
is,
a
they
big
have a
fight.
restriction as well.
They
like,
do.
People are talking about France. I'm going to go to Europe where a woman's right to choose. Like,
Yeah.
but they have restrictions
No,
there.
but it makes sense that no one cares.
Yes, it's like there's a certain time where you can't do it anymore
Yeah,
because
it's
it's
like-
viable outside the womb.
Yeah,
and
it's
not Bill Burr's bit.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I think a woman should have a right to choose, and I think you're killing a baby. Like both
Right.
those things are true.
Yeah, it's like it's just these issues. They're the problem with some of these issues that can be solved. And like when Fetterman said that thing about immigration, he goes, "Yeah, nobody wants to solve it because it's good for everybody." There is something to me that's about all of these issues that seem weirdly like people are against any type of rational common ground.
I think you're right in that
solution.
regard. I think there's definitely some truth to that. I think some
Right?
people do want things solved,
Most
but
people
I also,
don't want late term. And
There, these things are these political beach balls that get tossed around a concert.
yeah.
In one of the ones that people were terrified of, if they got rid of Roe v. Wade, the next one was gay marriage.
Yeah.
Because they were like, no, a marriage between a man and a woman. And that was what people were worried that all this stuff is coming out of religion.
Well, I think
That's
a lot of it's going to go to states' rights. So I think where you live will determine a lot of your
freedom.
And
Yeah.
that I think they've said they don't care about gay marriage, but I imagine that would come up. And I imagine that
Lindsey Graham does not want to give up half his stuff.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't believe
no,
in gay
neither
marriage.
do I. Marriage itself
I believe
is
in minerals.
Yeah, good for him. I'm more with him on that in the mineral front. But no, I think that of course these things will probably go to popular votes. And it's because people are uncomfortable with the courts and telling them that they have to believe a certain way or think a certain thing. And that's the whole thing. It's like you can vote with your wallet, you can vote with your feet, you can leave a state. Obviously, I am for a woman's right to choose. I am not an elected official in Missouri. I have no power there. I do not live there. I have no influence at all over a woman's body in Missouri, positively or negatively. It's like there are things. This is this crazy big country where, yes, I would agree that a lot of things, but I didn't agree with a lot of things that they've done.
Wouldn't you, if you wanted to, this is an interesting way, you want to play 4D chess? Like if you wanted to get rid of the Republicans and you're a rhino, you're like a sneaky fake Republican.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you like push to get rid of Roe v. Wade? Because one of the things that Roe v. Wade is going to do.
It has an effect.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, I don't know how much. Yeah.
Here's one thing that Roe v. Wade's going to do. Roe v. Wade's it's going to charge up a bunch of women who don't want men telling them what to do.
Yes.
Right. So they're going to want to vote Democrat, right? And they're going to go out in large numbers. And if you do that at the same time, you're shipping all these immigrants into all these swing states,
right?
And then you have those folks.
Yeah,
join the Democratic Party too. So they're all voting Democrat too.
Yeah.
Now you have a reason why you should want to take over this red area and turn it blue, because these fucking men are trying to tell these women what they can and can't do. It's like one more layer on the cake that you're allowed, that you
for sure.
Like the percentage support, you'll get more percentage support. It's like a good idea if you were like a creepy puppet master that was controlling the strings of civil unrest in the country.
If the Democrats had said, listen, we're not allowing any gender experimentation on kids until they're adults, and we're going to enforce the border law, and Biden had said, I'm serving one term, and they had a primary, Trump probably wouldn't be back. He's back because they opened the fucking door. His main issue is immigration. They literally exacerbated it. 10 million illegals came over the border. And then people are incredibly uncomfortable with their children being indoctrinated in schools with this crap. So
I think he would have been back anyway.
He might have been back, but I don't think he would have won.
I think they thought he ripped him off. They ripped him off, and I think he would.
I don't think he would have won. I think the reality is they've given him on a silver platter his biggest issue, which is that people want a country.
Well, what do you think they would do to beat him? So if he's back, if Biden does say that, he steps down, who is running? You know,
Fetterman's obviously not mentally there to run, but a guy that has that, you need a working class guy who goes, we need a country. We need to have a distinction between citizen and non-citizen.
Yeah.
The social contract has to be, otherwise we have a social contract with it's invalidated completely when you're bringing people in from all over the world and the government is promising them things and they're getting votes and they're replacing Americans in certain, manufacturing jobs or whatever. You don't have any sense of a country.
Right.
And you need a country and you need a working class person who's not condescending, and somebody who goes, look at the Tavistock clinic in the UK that just closed. Why? Because experimental transgender therapies for children is a science that is not only not settled, but it is doing damage to people. This is why that clinic's full of progressives that said, we're shutting this down because we're making a lot of fucking mistakes that are irreversible, and these are human beings. If you take away those issues, then the Republicans have to run on, an economic platform that may or may not be that popular.
Right.
But the Democrats chose instead to elevate DEI, to talk about the most important thing is in America is diversity, equity, and inclusion. They chose to convince everyone, all of the social capital that they spent convincing people how important it was to support the Ukraine with no plan and no end game and open-ended and ditto, whatever Israel wants to do, and maybe we'll have to go into Iran, and to get all of that and to explain that to people, and they didn't even explain it that well, but they kept telling people how important it was. They could have easily crafted a message that was rational and sane. All they had to be was, because Trump is a lot. And I think there's a lot of people in America that would have said, hey, man, we should just move on. It's chaos. It's volatile.
But here's the question. Who's the spokesperson? So if you have a primary, who would it be? Gavin Newsom's not trusted.
No, it's got to be someone we barely know.
Kamala Harris is already the vice president, so you have to choose her. So it's like, because if you're going to go all with all that DEI stuff,
you can't
if you're going to go
her.
all with, but here's the thing: if you're going to go all in with like this idea that we need a woman of color who's the president, which is one of the things that they were saying all along, that he was going to do that. And I was like, why not just have the best person?
Right.
No, you have to have a woman. It's okay. You've already accepted that.
Right.
You have her. She's the vice president. She's been there for 4 years. Like, she knows how shit runs.
Right.
It's automatic.
It's automatic unless you change course and
Unless
you
you have a
realize
primary and
that
someone competes against her.
You have a primary and you got to
But who?
find. I don't know. I don't know who that person is. I don't know every Democrat in the country. I don't know
Right,
every
but is there
Democratic congressman, governor, senator.
One person that stands out. Like, any person that colors outside the lines, like Tulsi Gabbard, they gets fucking ostracized.
Well, the lines have to change. That's the
Right.
problem. The problem is the lines have to change. You cannot be beholden to extremists. And then on one side, you have the extremists. On the other side, you have these like corporate oligarchs that are demanding fealty to foreign wars, endless trade agreements that don't benefit workers, hollowing out the middle class. And this was all stuff the Republicans were all about in the 80s.
Yeah.
And the Democrats were about in the 90s under NAFTA and stuff like that. So if you transform the Democratic Party, again, into a workers' party with common sense, reasonable considerations, and it's not based on religious fundamentalism, and it's not based on woke fundamentalism on the other side.
But how do you get people out of that are in that, where it's like part of their tribal identity? Like, how do you get people to relinquish?
You need a figure that rejects it. Like, I think you need somebody to reject it publicly. When Bill Clinton had that Sister Soldier moment, right? When Bill Clinton
What was that moment?
The Sister Soldier moment where she was a rapper or something. She said something about America and he corrected her. I forget exactly what it was, but it's a moment where Bill Clinton was running for president and he went against and and establishes bona fides as a here we go. Yeah.
What was this? I kind of remember this. Sure, let's play the video.
Let's stand up for what's always been best about the Rainbow Coalition, which is people coming together across racial lines. You talked about Mr. Fields from Louisiana that you had here last night, a great role model. We don't have a lot of time to do this. We don't have a lot of time. You had a rap singer here last night named Sister Soldier. I defend her right to express herself through music. But her comments before and after Los Angeles were filled with the kind of hatred that you do not honor today and tonight. Just listen to this, what she said. She told the Washington Post about a month ago, and I quote, "If black people kill black people every day, why not have a week and kill white people? So you're a gang member and you normally kill somebody? Why not kill a white person?" Last year she said, "You can't call me or any black person anywhere in the world a racist. We don't have the power to do to white people what white people have done to us. And even if we did, we don't have that low-down, dirty nature. If there are any good white people, I haven't met them. Where are they? Right here in this room. That's where they are." I know she is a young person, but she has a big influence on a lot of people. And when people say that, if you took the words white and black and you reversed them, you might think David Duke was giving that speech. Let me tell you, we all make mistakes, and sometimes we're not as sensitive as we ought to be. And we have an obligation, all of us, to call attention to prejudice wherever we see it. A few months ago, I made a mistake. I joined a friend of mine and I played golf at a country club that didn't have any African-American members. I was criticized for doing it. You know what? I was rightly criticized for doing it. I made a mistake. And I said I would never do that again. And I think all of us have got to be sensitive to that. We can't get anywhere in this country pointing the finger at one another across racial lines. If we do that, we're dead, and they will beat us. Even in Reverend Jackson's new math of this election, it's hard to get to a 34% solution or a 40% solution if the American people can be divided by race.
If he ran on that today, he beats everybody.
This is what I mean.
In a landslide.
That's what I mean.
In a sensible.
That's what I mean.
That's what a Democrat used to be.
That's what I mean.
How good was that guy, by the way?
The best.
The best speaker.
And the best person. But what I mean is that had Kamala Harris repudiated a lot of what happened in the madness of 2020, 2021, all that stuff, and said America is not a white supremacist country that is only set up to terrorize people of color and minorities, and that, you know, yes, we've had a past that's been terrible, but we've made tons of progress, and people should be rewarded in this country on the basis of their hard work, their ability, their willingness to take risk, to, and we cannot have a society that is arranged by people's tribal identity. If she'd come out and gave some more eloquent version, I'm just off the top of my head, of that speech, it would have been her sister soldier moment, and she could have said, my party went in the wrong direction. And by the way, it would have been very compelling to a lot of people.
Yeah, but she would have to formulate that, or someone would have to help her formulate
Someone would have to
formulate. So
formulate
what I'm saying is you should run for president. You should become a Democrat and run on that.
Maybe I am.
Well, you probably couldn't become a Democrat. They'd probably never let you in, but I bet you they'd let you into the Republican
Not
Party.
only will they never let me in, depending on the next 8 hours, I'm going to be in jail. There's going to be... No, I think that was the thing. I think Trump ran against the Republican Party in 2016.
Yeah.
He ran against the Bushes. He ran against foreign war. He ran against big business. He ran against every single Republican donor base, every plutocratic concern. Trump ran against it. He ran against the Chamber of Commerce. He ran against all the people, the Koch people, all the people that were open borders. He ran against all of those people. And, he ran against major power factions within that party, and he steamrolled them. And Kamala Harris has refused to do that. She didn't repudiate Biden.
Well, how could she, though? Because he's still president. She's still vice president. She
has to throw him right under the bus.
But she would almost need a fresh start, like to get out of this cycle and then come back again in 2028.
He's an old fool. That's what I would have said. Somebody asked me about him, I would have said, he's an old fool.
But then you'd have to say, well, what is Biden? Oh, he's sharp as a tack. Yeah, I don't believe you
anymore. But here's the deal. The vice president, we all know, kind of doesn't do anything. She should just say that. She should go, listen, the vice president didn't do anything.
Maybe she should say that.
She should say that. She should go, let's be very honest. Legislation originates in the House of Representatives. The president has an agenda. I'm sitting around. He's an idiot. We let way too many immigrants in. The tranny stuff's gone nuts. And we got to put some people in jail. If they break into your car, they steal your phone.
Yeah.
She should, if she said, if a Venezuelan steals your phone, they go right to jail. I would be phone banking for her. She hasn't acknowledged his appeal. They never give him his due. They never give Trump his due. Had she said in the debate, listen, Trump, you brought a lot of people into politics. You've ignited their passions. I respect that. And you've brought up issues that are important that have been ignored for a long time by both parties. But I just think we need to move forward in this election. And you're a very entertaining guy. It was a time Bill Clinton said to George H.W. Bush, he goes, in the middle of the debate, he goes, listen, we all respect your military service and we respect the sacrifice you made for the country, but I think we have to go in another direction. And it was just, and then you could see like H.W., the older one, being like, oh, he was seething because Clinton had kind of complimented him and said, we like what you did, but we got to go in this new direction.
That would be a brilliant move to use against Trump.
It would have been a brilliant move to use against Trump, but you're right. She can't do it. She's owned by donors. She's owned by these people, and it's unfortunate because had she run against them, there might have been a contingent of people that said they would give her a shot, but
I think public speaking is a skill.
She doesn't have it.
No, it's a very particular type of skill. So she has one skill. And that was in that one speech where she said, come say it to my face. Remember that? You got something to say about me? Say it to my face. Everybody cheers like, oh, my God, she's going to win. Like there was a moment. But that was a really well-rehearsed thing that she did, and she had excellent timing in that.
That's right.
So then all the pressure comes out, and then the bumbles, and then the interviews and the stumbles and the inability to answer certain questions, and then all that stuff. So her ability to do that kind of thing is dependent upon a teleprompter and a well-rehearsed speech.
She doesn't believe in anything outside of her own ambition.
Bill Clinton did his whole State of the Union speech once when the teleprompter went down. He did it all off the top of his fucking head.
It was a different thing.
He was a different thing. So a guy like him, you don't find those now because they're all pussy hounds and they're hiding.
Right.
They don't want that fucking job. Bill Clinton was around before the internet. It was great.
Maybe that's what we need to go back to. Yeah, I mean, it's like, but because she, you know, it's that, again, it's that corporate hollow, like, speak that inspires nobody, really.
Yeah, well, the thing that inspires people is she laughs a lot, and, you know, you go girl, woman of color, all that good stuff. She was already a, you know, attorney general, already, you know, she already had vice president. She was in, very qualified in that regard, but what Bill Clinton just did, that's what we want.
That's what we need.
We need an actual leader that I go, well, that's an exceptional human being. The way he talks is better than I can talk.
Well, it's better than both of us, anyone.
But the way he's doing it in front of everybody,
I'll tell you right now.
It's very, very
because
comforting.
that moment, he was the left flank of his party. I'm sure didn't love that, and I'm sure that there were people that criticized him for that. But he basically came out and said, listen, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to, you know, take a stance that's going to anger people, but I'm going to reach across the aisle and say, you're right. This is not moving us in the right direction. And there were moments that she could have done that. She chose not to.
Right.
And I think that's, you know, again, we don't know anything, so I don't know if I'm doing a postmortem on her campaign or not. But
what do you think if you had a bet right now?
I think it's him now. I think if he gets Michigan or Pennsylvania, it's over, and I think he's getting one of them. I don't think she gets both of them, but I could be totally wrong.
What do you think?
Jamie?
What do you?
Jamie, make up the results.
Because there's been all these turning points. There's been all these ups and downs, and you know, stumbles and recoveries, and you know, different interviews.
Yeah,
I'm still fucking.
There was a time I thought it was definitely her. Mm-hmm. And then there was a time that I thought it was definitely him. And then there was a time I thought it was definitely her. And now I think it's him again.
God, I wish I got a chance to interview her.
You know?
That one would be interesting. What if she changed my mind? What if she, like, in an actual conversation, it's cool. She could just be herself.
Well, here's the thing. She would have had to do what Clinton did. And she can't do it because they are being held hostage by an ideology that is crippling to thought.
Right, but so wouldn't you want to, so a person like that, really, I'd want to talk to them about stuff outside of being president. You know, because I think that's when you can find out a lot of shit about people.
Yeah, I think the Waltz thing was a mistake.
Oh, yeah. Well, she even said that
he's a buffoon.
She chose him when she was sleep deprived.
Yeah, of course. He's a buffoon.
Well, by the way, it's a hilarious thing to say.
Yeah, of course.
You can't kick him out either, right?
No.
You can't say, I changed my mind, you're fired.
She should have went with Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania. Republicans would have been panicked.
But do you think that the Free Palestine people would have got upset because Josh Shapiro is Jewish?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, he would have won. He would have won more Jews back. He's a better debater,
right.
And I think he would have been instrumental in PA. And I think PA is the bowl game,
right?
So I think yes, people would not have been happy with his. But by the way, Waltz is saying the same stuff. So Shapiro's going, Israel's got a right to defend itself, and it's our big friend and whatever. Waltz is saying the same thing as Shapiro would have said, except he's a goofy guy who should be at like a state fair eating hot dogs. He shouldn't be the vice president.
Right.
So if you're going to have that party line, because it's the party line, no matter what you ask them, that's just their party line. They go, Israel has a right to defend. And it's fine. If that's going to be the party line, have a competent, shrewd operator say it, and not this buffoon.
Not only that,
who should be ice fishing,
who's been caught lying multiple times.
He's a pathological liar,
and he lies about stuff that's not important.
That's right.
That no one cares about. Like, you don't have to lie about that.
Yeah,
you don't have to. You're lying because your version of the truth is not, like, what you're giving people is not the truth. You're changing the truth and always to make you look better. You're a head coach instead of an assistant coach. Your military rank is a lot better than it is. You pretend kind of that you served in war.
It's a total, you know, it's patronizing to the American people to just put this guy out there and say he's just like you. And he's one of the most radical people. I mean, he's just not a mainstream guy. Shapiro's much more of a mainstream guy who just happened to be Jewish.
Right.
And this guy who comes from Minnesota is a very far left radical guy who, again, he's not Karl Marx, but he's nowhere near the mainstream of American politics. And they pick him out and they go, but he's folksy, he's got a charm, he's a fun guy, but he happens to be a liar and full of shit. And, his wife, when the BLM riots were happening, said, we just rolled down you just opened the windows and smelt the burning tires and really took in the moment. Jesus. That's a quote from his psychotic wife. So they're psychopaths. They're psychopaths.
That's
these
Joker
people.
shit. Rolling up the windows. Shit.
And we smelled the burning tires we just took in the moment. That's a quote from Gwen Walls.
Good Lord.
So at the end of the day, it's like they're not representative of the American people just because you might bump into them at a state fair. They're just broke, those two. They don't have $1. So that was exciting. They're like, oh, we got this guy who's broke and he was like a coach and he has no money. But he turns out he's a liar and people don't. When riots are going on, people are not taking in the moment and sniffing the burnt tires. This is, no. Watch this psychopath.
Let me hear this.
This is a psychopath.
I would say those first days, when there were riots, I could smell the burning tires. And that was a very real thing. And I kept the windows open for as long as I could because I felt like that was such a touchstone of what was happening.
She's ill. She's mentally ill.
I kept the windows open,
and
so I got as much burning tire smoke in my house.
So that you can't. Can we? What? It's a psychopath. And the Democrats bring her out because they're teachers and they're broke. They're like you. And then you go, I don't know about that.
Let anybody talk off script. If they're going to be smart about this in the future, you got to put everybody on a script. Unless you find yourself another Bill Clinton, put everybody on a fucking script.
God, he was good. I mean, listen, pedophile, perhaps. Epstein friend, perhaps. Human trafficker, perhaps. But God, did he talk.
Such good talker.
God, did he talk.
And then I think it goes back to what we're talking about like secret societies. Like there's always been these people that were in the White House or wherever these fucking places. These people they go crazy behind closed doors.
They do.
And you're just assuming that they're the person they portray themselves on television.
Right.
This button down person with a suit and tie who's
Right.
talking to you about the future.
Right.
And
that is not what's happening.
That's not what's happening. They're human beings. They have vices. They like wild shit, I bet. They like power for sure. Otherwise they wouldn't be president. They like power, and they probably are into some kinky shit that they know they're not supposed to be doing because it's fun.
For sure.
That's probably what's fun about it.
For
you're
sure.
the president, you're getting your dick sucked like this. Is crazy.
In the Oval Office.
It's crazy.
Think about that. Yeah, that's a good
Probably
point.
so much fun. That's probably why Kennedy did it. They were out of control. And then all of a sudden they can't be anymore.
Right.
So it's like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
It's like when they said Catholic priests couldn't get married anymore. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like Catholic
So
priests
creepy.
used to fuck. They used to be the rock stars, but they were fucking too many people.
Yeah,
They
but
said,
thank
"Hey, you guys
God
can't
after
fuck
they
anymore."
banned marriage in the Catholic Church, nothing bad happened.
Definitely.
Thank God nothing bad happened. Well, you think it's him for sure?
I do not know.
Jamie, who won?
You know who had a really good post about this? Max Lugavere. He had a really good post. He goes, "I'm not voting for Trump. Because I'm voting against all these things." He just listed like a very clear and concise list of all the different things that are fucked up about this ideology that's being pushed today.
For sure.
The fucking censorship of it all is the thing that's the most spooky because it's the only thing that's going to keep us from working our way out of this together.
That and the war.
Yeah, those two things.
That and the ratcheting up tensions all over the globe.
Yeah.
Is a problem.
Yeah. Well, he's the one who's saying he's going to try to stop all this shit.
Let's hope.
And if that's a reason to vote for someone, that should be like the biggest reason to vote for someone. Like get someone who wants to stop people killing people. Number one, get us out of these fucking international conflicts. Number two, right? Make it so that we have our own oil and we have power here. We don't have to import foreign oil and prop up dictators. That all would be good. All that sounds good.
Right.
You know, it's like I don't hear the things that people keep saying he's saying. Like, if this will be the last time you get to vote.
No.
They're going to put you in camps. They're going to separate interracial relationships.
The way to run against him was what I said. It's not saying he's Hitler. It's saying here's where he's right and here's where we can do it better.
Yes.
That's the way to run against him.
That's how you're going to win, Tim.
And they chose not.
I'm going to back you. I'll get Peter Thiel.
Well, you better think
We're
so.
gonna
When you,
make this happen.
I'm coming to you for money, so you better,
Bro, we're gonna get you fitted with a nice suit.
Thank you.
I think you're more of a collar open type guy, though.
Collar
more of
open,
a man of the people.
Collar open, and just kind of like,
bro, you can't lose.
Yeah,
gay Republican. You get so many people to jump over to the other side.
I should be the governor of California
for sure. You
That's
could win.
It's an actual good
You
point.
could actually win.
It's a great point.
But no one likes that Newsom fellow. They don't trust him anymore. He got caught with his fucking mask off at the French Laundry.
I will either save the state or destroy it in 5 days.
No, you'll fix it.
But it's either or, and I think either one is fine.
You're going to be a national hero.
Yeah,
and they're going to be screaming for you to be president. That's what's going to happen.
Well, let's pray.
You'll be the first Republican president since Arnie. Makes sense.
That's right.
You're in.
Yeah.
Or first Republican governor, rather.
Yeah.
In California. So
that'd be huge. That's a good plan because I could go from there and then right to the White House.
And you're socially liberal, so the liberals won't feel bad voting for you.
Right. To an extent, I'm socially liberal.
To a pretty fucking wide extent.
Yeah,
you know?
to a wide extent.
Yeah.
I do believe women should ask to leave the house. Like I do have that. That's where I have that Islam thing. I do believe that.
Permission's important.
Permission's important.
The fucking Sharia law thing is the craziest.
Well, let's hope everybody's peaceful and happy.
Yeah. Let's hope it's not all Handmaid's Tale in the future.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you.
It's always fun.
Always. Thank you.
You had some brilliant rants tonight,
No,
as
thank
always.
you. I appreciate it.
Where are you at? Where can people come see you?
Tim Dillon Show on YouTube, TimDillonComedy.com, and the Mothership sold out, but I'll be there next week.
Oh, you're there next week.
We might add a
you
show.
Traveling around?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. We just did a tour, and we're kind of at the end of it, but we got some dates in Canada. We're kind of at the end of the tour. And
you coming to clubs tonight?
Are you there?
Yeah. Come
I'll probably stop in. Yeah,
I'm doing Ron White show.
Okay, cool.
Come and say it.
All right. Talk soon.
Thank you. Bye everybody. This episode is brought to you by Dr. Squatch Body Wash. Now, if you know me, you know I'm all about natural stuff, especially when it comes to what I put on my body. So let's talk about Dr. Squatch. This brand's been killing it with their cold-pressed real soaps for a while now, but here's the game changer. They've just launched a new body wash that's actually real natural soap. It's made with natural ingredients, none of that synthetic stuff like parabens or sulfates. This is pure stuff, just like how coconut oil and plants can keep your skin hydrated all day. Speaking of coconut, the scents are great too. They've got coconut castaway, pine tar, wood barrel bourbon, and fresh falls. I've tried coconut castaway, and let me tell you, it smells amazing. You're not getting this kind of earthy, masculine scent anywhere else. And by the way, it's dermatologist tested for 24-hour moisture, so you're not just smelling great, you're taking care of your skin too. Dr. Squatch Body Wash for men who prefer natural. Available at drsquatch.com or at a fine retailer near you.